And live from the man cave. Oh, and it's not zooming out. Of course it's not zooming out. I'll zoom it out manually. There we go. Wide shot. Here we go. We are live from the Man Cave studio. We're just talking about tech while we're waiting for the countdown, waiting for you guys to get into the chat over there.
Not me, I'm just observing.
Yeah.
That's out of my league.
As Larry likes to say, from constitutional Livingston County, Michigan, on a Friday night. And look at this. My fish are not zooming out either.
You're a gay fish.
There's my gay fish.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you hear?
Oh, yeah.
I
did.
literally just fixed this thing. Oh, it's the plug.
Oh, I was just going to say, I heard it just drop off.
Yeah, it was the plug itself. That's the thing. Anyway, so welcome everybody. And of course, look over the rumble on the computer itself freezes up. There's the gay fish. There we go. But welcome. Tonight we have Greg Mooney running for UAW President. James, you set this up, brought him in here. Let me give the disclaimer here, and then I'll see about you guys' disclaimers and see where we're at. And we'll get into this conversation and see what's going on with the UAW and what needs to change and where it's some dynamics there. But let me give this out first, right at the beginning. You guys that watch on a regular basis know this. Well, disclaimer, there we go. Notice this podcast is raw, unfiltered, and completely politically incorrect. We say Merry Christmas and the Pledge of Allegiance, especially the part about one nation under God. We thank our troops for their service. Thank you those in our audience. We only recognize we do recognize three genders now, male, female, and mentally ill. As adults, we enjoy adult beverage. That would be me tonight. Cheers. I went and made sure I had some Disaronno for the night. You guys are on your water because you got long drives. Good on you. We cuss. That would be the F-bomb, the S-bomb, and a few other choice words. We do not curse or swear. Curse is the opposite of blessing. Swearing is when you pledge allegiance to something or swear fealty. We love Jesus, but hate religion and religious hypocrites. If any of this offends you, please feel free to leave. You have been warned. And we'll go to that shot. There we go. Greg, welcome to the show first.
Thank you.
Anything that you need to disclaim before we get started? You are a UAW member. Anything that you need to disclaim about?
No, I mean, it's all my own. I do everything myself. So
One-man wrecking crew.
One-man wrecking crew. Very good. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome back, James. You've been gone for a while, buddy. I missed you.
I've been gone.
But you've been cranking out the hours.
I've been cranking out the hours.
And you got the rental properties, and you got some other stuff going. You've been posting a lot with you and the cub.
Yep. The cub is growing.
She's doing a lot of gymnastics and stuff like that.
Gymnastics and volleyball and soccer now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
That's
just gotta get her
hardcore.
to
Calm down.
You just gotta kick that ball right through their leg.
Dude,
it's okay.
Just go for it.
It's almost like that Mortal Kombat finished them at one point.
Exactly, dude. I remember when I was real young, probably her age. I did a slide tackle on an old. It was with my uncle's buddy, and I did a slide tackle and popped the ball away from him, and then came right back up, spun around him, and took off. And he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go have another beer." He was like, "I'm out." I was like, "What?" I was just. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, man. Greg, nothing more than that, disclaimer-wise.
Right.
Same with you, James.
I got opinions. So.
Auto workers for Trump.
Been around 8 plants.
Okay.
27 years.
Yeah.
I know a few things. I've seen a few things, and never forget the face or the name of the people that lied to your face when your plants close and your production leaves.
Yep.
And all the lies behind it.
Yep. I've seen that in politics and religion myself.
That's right.
Where I go, really? Is that what you? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you said no, I didn't. I go, well.
Isn't it funny how they think you forgot and they
Yeah.
come down on the floor and they want to shake your hand and it's like, what? You lied to my face. My plant is literally closed in a hole in the ground, and now you want me to shake your hand.
I've had people that I literally looked at them and gave them an opportunity to retract or mea culpa, something like that. No, we're going to double down on it. And I go, really?
Yep.
Okay.
And tethered themselves to the damage. They advocated for it.
And then would call somebody else, an intermediate, a third party, and go, see if he was willing to sit down and talk. I'm like, about what?
Right.
You don't want to apologize.
Yeah.
You don't think you did anything wrong.
Yep.
And my choice was to walk away from you.
Yep.
And you keep coming after me. So tell me who has the problem.
Right.
If I walked away from you and I don't speak your name,
Yep.
why?
It's essentially like they think you're the dog that you can just get a treat out. You beat it with a stick 10 minutes ago, and then you get, come here, buddy.
Right.
Like, it's like, that's literally how they think the membership
do.
is on that floor.
They
I
do.
mean, it's amazing.
It's ridiculous. I've seen it in politics. I've seen it in churches.
Yep.
I shut down my own congregation at a
Yep.
certain point because I had people pulling stuff, and I'm like, guys, this is not what we're doing.
Yep.
Well, we don't understand. I'm like, you don't understand your own motives and why I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
Okay, we'll walk away.
So
let's get into Greg,
Yes.
obviously. But I got to point this out because it was my normal Friday night, and obviously Mother's Day is coming up, and so I said,
my wife's birthday and Mother's Day.
Nice.
This year, so.
nice.
Wow.
So I said, I'm doing steak. How was that, guys?
It's perfect. It's awesome.
Some ribeye.
I felt my, testosterone building up as I just ate it, and the blood came
Right?
out, and I was like, "Ugh."
You know,
It's awesome.
if we were Caribbean area and we were in the sun all day long and in
Right.
the ocean and stuff like that, you could probably live off a lot of fruit and
Yeah.
maybe some fish here and there. We're in some northern climes. You got to have some good hardcore protein.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, dude, I got to have a steak tonight.
Yeah.
Little steak, potatoes, asparagus, stuff like that. So I want to throw that out there. We had a good
was
conversation
very good.
during
Yes,
dinner.
very good. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yes.
Well, I like to break bread because you get to know a lot of people during dinner, and of course, you discuss things that you get a pre-discussion before the
Right.
show, and you
Yeah.
get to talk about stuff that you're not. You figure out how you're going to discuss it because it's like. What's the best way to describe it? It's like talking with your wife in bed versus talking to your buddies about the conversation you and your wife had. It's an intimate thing with your wife.
Right.
It's off air. But you're talking to your buddies. Yeah, I was talking to my wife the other night. Oh, while we were involved,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, okay. It's that different dynamic of you want to have these preliminary conversations and break bread. Well, that's a better example. Thank you, Lord. It's Jesus talking with his disciples during the Last Supper or during many suppers where he took them away from everybody.
Yep.
And they said to him, Lord, why do you talk to us openly and you don't talk to the other people? And he's like, because they don't get it. And so you got to not strategize. You're not trying to deceive people, but you dial in your vernacular for when
Right.
you get on the show to go, all right, this is going to be the best. I'm not saying you got to dumb it down, but you've got to. We like to say it on the show now. For those of you in Ann Arbor, like Rush Limbaugh used to say, for those of you in Rio Linda, for those of you in Ann Arbor. So we got to kind of dial it down and go, all right, listen, this is the way it is. Anyway, so Greg, let's get into this. What were you going to ask James? I want to kind of dial in a little bit of his history, but then let's get into the whole.
Oh,
thing.
no, you're good. We'll start off with your background.
So give us a background.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have a degree in political science. I went to the University of Findlay, and I've been following politics my entire life. When I was a kid, I lived out in the country and I didn't have cable, so we had 3 channels. There's a Christian channel, NBC, and I could get Fox News, or not Fox, but Fox.
Fox 20 or Fox 2 or something like that.
Out of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh,
Did you have like a
you're
rotor
south, yeah.
dial where they?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
old
yeah.
school stuff. So, like in the summer, I would come downstairs and turn the TV on. I mean, you had talk, or I had Rush Limbaugh. So I'm 10 years old and I start listening to Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Right.
And so ever since then, I've been a fan of politics. And,
Okay.
so I've been following stuff ever since. But from that, when I was younger and entered the workforce, I did construction. I installed like in-ground pools. I sold them.
Wow,
Did the whole
okay.
thing.
Yep.
And blew my shoulder out, herniated my disc in my neck, and
That'll happen in
Concrete
construction.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was in workers' comp for a while, so I kind of went through that and had to go through the bureaucracy and fight my employer and all that, and that kind of shaped my perspective.
Yeah.
When I came back in the workforce, me and my wife, we worked at a church, our local church.
Okay.
Worked there, and then I kind of started my own business and then went into education. I taught at a trade school. I worked at a university, and now I'm working for General Dynamics Land Systems as a multimedia specialist, where we make the tank for the U.S. Army.
Okay.
So, there's all sorts of cool stuff that goes through. I can't share it, but,
You
Right,
could have
right.
drove that up,
yeah.
Jeremy.
Dude, I'm actually picking up the hot rod tomorrow
Oh.
morning. My buddy has a 1930 Ford the hot rod, the two-seater.
Oh, like the ZZ Top looking thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like a 32 Ford, something like that?
It's you know, I have it in my thing. I'll pull it up real quick while we're talking about it. But I'm picking that up, and because Jocelyn's going to the prom, and so oh, I put it in my Google folder. That's what it is.
Will you
Never
be
mind.
cleaning your firearms before they leave?
No.
No?
Brandon, no. She's got. Last year, her brother took her
Okay.
because she broke up with the guy she had been with for a little while, and she was, you know, a little tough, and her brother stepped right up and said, "I'll go with you." And that's, you've seen some of the pictures
Yeah.
of them sitting in the motorcycle and
Yeah.
a couple things like that, and so that was, in fact, there's one of them right there. You got, the audience can't see it, but there's
Very
wow.
cool.
there's Jocelyn William last year.
Nice.
And so they're coming. I said, listen, my buddy just got 2 new cars from down south. And if you want me to grab one, I want you guys to come and we'll do pictures here. So I'm going to go grab that thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to show it to you guys on the screen, but I'll show it to you guys over here. Anyways, it's going to be cool. It's I think it's straight 1930s
Nice.
car.
Nice.
But we're picking that up, and that's going to be a lot of fun. What was my point on that? IT guy? Oh, the tank.
The tank.
Tank.
So my one buddy,
Your buddy has a tank?
Scott, my new guitar player, he works at a big welding company, just moved back up here, and he's,
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
there's one of the plants that he goes to
Very
that he
nice.
supplies the welding equipment, and I had my choice between that one and that one.
Wow.
No.
I'm like, the kids want the red one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he tells me, he goes into the plants and he's like, yeah, they don't let me. He's like, one day they gave him special clearance, but he could still only walk through certain areas because he's supplying them the acetylene, the oxygen,
Right.
You know, all their wire equipment, all their gloves, new helmets, stuff like that. He's supplying it all. So I get that. It's like, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. And
Yeah.
plus we're on air, so you're not getting that anyway.
I'll be honest with you, I wish that would come back to the big 3 more because we do have a whole lot of suppliers coming and going. And as you know, we did have a couple people that were engineers or contract employees that were from China and stole the Echo Boost before it even came out. They had
Really?
planted stuff into the blue oval tables and stuff as listening devices and things. So
Oh, dude. You
we
mean
really should be a little more concerned with that kind of stuff. I mean,
You mean like
I
the
know
Russians
they tell us,
bugging the whole embassy back in the 80s?
They tell us that what Dan Bongino calls the smellies. You know, they call us the smellies, and they're always worried about what we're taking a picture of or whatever. Which mine is literally just if we got a bad product or something, I get the part number, I send it to my boss. There's nothing to see, you know.
Right, right.
But they're so worried about filming or whatever, and I get it. But then there's just rando people in here that have access all over our plant, and it's just like,
But then how does that factor in? Because they're fighting right now over the Ford patent for when
Which
you
is
get in your car,
crazy.
your car's
Dude.
watching you to make
yeah,
sure you're
it's
awake.
the judge, jury, and the executioner.
Dude,
I mean,
that's
like if you get in your car, and let's just say like what happened to me with my mom, that was a few weeks, not that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible. Like I thought my mom was gonna die. And I
Right.
got in a car with
you're
my
in a
brother
panic
and-
state.
Yeah.
You're driving erratically because you're going around people, and your vehicle's going to shut you off
Yep.
because it senses there was.
I wasn't driving erratically or crazy, but I got in
No,
there.
I'm
I was
saying-
definitely hyped up, you know, and it was just like it would see me and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, sorry, you can't drive." And
Really?
meanwhile, my mom's gonna die. Yeah, it's a new patent they're coming out with.
Well,
Well, I
they're
saw that. I thought that they were going to try and pass it as law.
they are.
Yes.
07.
That's
or
the
2027.
that's the fight.
Yeah.
But the problem is most of that tech's already in the car.
I was gonna say the first half
because
is
they've-
already there.
Yes, they've
So-
managed. Well, I think they just need to turn the switch.
Yep.
So
So-
it's not even where they got to update it.
Yep.
There was a gal in she called into one of the shows that I listened to, and she said, yeah, she was in Europe. She got a rental.
Mm-hmm.
She's driving, and she drove for like 3 days, no problem. And then one day she's driving, and the car flashes at her and tells her this and tells her that. She's a little short gal, and it couldn't see her eyes.
Yep.
And she had to like sit up straighter, and as soon as it saw her eye, and she's like, what the hell is this?
And being we're over in this topic, I'll bring it up. There's
Yeah.
a lot of Americans that were upset that BYD was shut down from coming into our country.
Yeah.
But I don't think people understand. So remember when the Teslas were getting keyed and vandalized? We were all cheering when they got caught, right? We all cheered. Is anyone realizing this is 24/7 surveillance? If your neighbor has a Tesla, or
It's-
they have
it's surveilling the
they're
whole
going
neighborhood.
to survey everything. And
Yeah.
what we found in all the Chinese solar panels, which is over 80% of every solar panel enters this country, is from China.
Yeah.
They have, modules in them that they can listen and grab information. So imagine a BYD car gets over here, and sure,
Yeah.
it's cheap because it's stealing everything you do, along with your entire neighborhood and everything. It has cameras and everything developed.
Right.
That tiny little camera you think can't see you 100. Eventually, they're going to be able to zoom up and do a lot more things with that stuff.
They've
than you
had those
realize.
buttonhole cameras for 40 or 50 years. I mean, they were using the little spy cameras back in the 40s.
And again, property damage, dude. I don't believe your property is your property. You work for that property. No one should be able to do anything about it. But when I saw that and everybody was clapping like seals because he was on our side at the time and he was a big contributor to Trump's win.
Right.
But the problem is they're not thinking about what? Hey, this is surveillance 24/7. 24/7. So what if your daughter's bedroom it's open in the summer and it's hot and she's in her little shorts and whatever in her bedroom going to sleep and you got a stinking car across the street that can zoom up or whatever.
Well, not only that,
they do it.
The TV in her room, the laptop in her room, her cell phone.
Well, she don't have none of that.
What I'm saying is the cell phone,
Yep.
you don't know when that thing's watching.
Oh, yeah.
Right. If you can pick up your phone and go, hey, Alexa, and it answers
It's
you a
on all
minute,
the
or
time.
hey, Google, and it answers you immediately, it's been listening the whole time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Which they've had things where they call 911. They hear something in the house and they're calling 911 for you.
There was a
And
recent
then-
one I just heard where the
Yep.
dude, husband and wife were watching a movie.
And they heard the movie.
And it heard the movie
Yeah.
and they get swatted.
Yep.
They're like, we heard that there was a kidnapping situation and like on the freaking movie
And
we're
they
watching.
finally admitted what it was a year and a half ago that oh my gosh, your routers can now do a virtual 3D of the room they're in
Oh, hell yeah.
and the walls through. That's
have
crazy.
you done the VR glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my previous guitar player brought his over one day,
Yeah.
and I can't do a lot of the newer video games
Right.
because I just get vertigo.
Yeah.
It disorients me. And I put those on. It scanned the room in like 10 seconds, and I played this game where I'm shooting stuff coming out of my wall virtually.
Yep.
And I'm like, there was no vertigo, there was no nothing because it was my room.
Yep.
And then superimposed over it was this digital stuff.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is badass and this is dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a dangerous technology. So you're in that dynamic
Yep.
of being in
Yeah.
IT and all that stuff. Any thoughts on that before we get?
Yeah, because
even more
AI is
into-
one of your big. You're
It is.
talking about because the future.
Yeah. So right now, like where I work, we are not allowed to have anything from China.
Okay.
Like the cord can't be from China.
Because everybody's spying no matter
Yeah.
what.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything they touch is
Everything.
spy material.
Yeah. So, and we don't take pictures and stuff, but a lot of this stuff, what happens is, what China does is they suck up all this information,
Right.
and they're going to put AI to figure it out.
Yep.
So they're just like a big vacuum sweeper. It just goes around and sucks
Yeah,
everything.
they pirate
out.
everything.
Yeah, and then you might not think it's that important, but they can come around later and correlate. And,
Oh yeah.
Everything
Or
else.
let's say you have political aspirations and they have something from here and they can blackmail you over
Exactly.
here. It's happening right now in real time.
yeah,
Isn't that the real reason for the data centers to collect all this data on us?
some of it.
Some of it.
Right now, the big push is because this is where all the capital in American stuff's going is into these data centers and stuff.
Right.
So, but a lot of this stuff, when it comes to like AI and whatnot, AI isn't inherently bad. It's how it's used.
how it's used.
Yeah.
And so,
That's always the key.
And who's got the reins? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the scary part. Is sure you might trust who's in power now, or you may not trust who's in power. So vice versa, wherever you're at on that bridge, and it flips hands.
Doesn't it really come down to, though, and I'll ask this directly to Greg being involved in AI, doesn't it really come down to the transparency? You can collect as much data as you want on me, as long as I know about it.
Right.
As long as I know what it is, and I have the option of actually,
Yeah, and they're not even paying
Completely-
for it. They're just taking.
opting out. So you guys know the two screens up behind you. Nobody can see them here in the studio, but so to do those two screens, right? It's my Google Drive that feeds up there and has movie posters, right? That one today, for some reason, acted like it was a brand new TV, and I had to click like 3 or 4 things for it to go to the regular menu. And I'm like, what? And one of them was, do you agree to this? And I'm like, I know that agreement has we have the right to spy on you and record shit in your building and do all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I've got enough tech around here that there's nothing.
right.
Right.
So
yeah,
I
they
just-
know. They know
I
when
just-
you went poop the last time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably how much it weighed.
Yep.
4 Keurigs.
Yep. Dude, that's seriously. They know when you're pooping. They know when you're gonna poop.
Do you know they're trying to do that too?
Yep.
Where they're analyzing your fecal matter
Yep.
in your own toilets so that they can tell you, oh, I saw that you're a little low on potassium. You should be taking, they want that tech to come up. Dude.
Well, because they have their problem, they have the solution.
So you've been involved in some of that AI dynamics.
Yes.
And I think it does come down to that transparency. I think you would probably agree, but you tell me from your experience what that field is looking like right now.
So it's still, well, let me back up. So right now, a lot of people, they're anti like data centers and all this other stuff because the perception is, we're taking up all this land, we're building it out in the country, we're taking up farmland, and now all our electricity and stuff is being skyrocketed.
Which it is.
Yeah.
And then the water, but yes.
Yeah. And so, there's a big push against it, but.
I think the biggest push for me is just location.
Right.
If they put it in these already defunct industrial places
Right.
that are dead,
Yep.
if they put it along the less, there's a whole bunch of coastline here in Michigan that nobody wants to build anything on.
There's a bunch of crap holes in Detroit you can fill with data
Dude,
centers.
yeah, and then they want to drop it onto pristine farmland over here.
And I do like that Trump is now trying to make it mandatory that they got to come up with their own bus of energy instead
Right.
of subsidizing our energy, which drives it up.
Well,
So,
there's one data center right now I just saw that was several acres, the whole data center, and it was using more electricity than the rest of the state combined.
Well, the Palisades,
that the one?
that coming online right now,
Yeah.
their primary function is to fire up that AI center that's going in there. I
Right.
believe it's Google. Is that one Google or is that Microsoft?
Microsoft has one like at 7 Mile Island or whatever.
You know,
So they're
that might be
rebuilding the nuclear plant.
Yeah,
That nuclear plant is entirely for Microsoft's data center.
Okay.
So the
Wow.
Palisade one is actually they're subsidizing to the Microsoft data center, which is 800 megawatts total
Right.
of what it's producing. It's getting, I can't remember what percentage of it. But what bothers me is there's 60% that are going down to Indiana and Illinois. They got subsidy to build that, redo it,
Right.
revamp it on our tax dollars. Ours is third highest, as you know, in the country, Michigan right now,
Right.
third highest per kilowatt hour.
And they
then
keep
just
going to
yeah.
Congress and asking them to raise it up
Yep.
here. And not only that, so we got the data centers that's using all that electricity. And I picked up my granddaughter, a bunch of my grandkids today from school, and she had this little model that she had to make a diorama, right? And it was wind power, green energy. And so I'm picking her brain. I'm talking to her about it, and she's like, "Yeah, my research was a little good, it was a little bad." And I'm like, "Okay, you're doing that." I said, "Did they, tell you that it's 600 gallons of oil
Yeah.
per
Right.
windmill? They tell you that
That
it's
are in
100
those verticals?
It's 100 barrels to harvest all the material for it, and that the carbon fiber blades can never be recycled." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, and not only that, I said, so your school's really pushing the green thing of solar and wind. She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Does your school have any solar panels on the roof?"
Nope.
"No, Grandpa." I said, "Do they have any windmills out in the playground area?"
No.
"No, Grandpa." I'm like, "Oh, so they're pushing the green tech, but they're not doing it themselves." You know what it would take? Chinese ones, but
Right.
you know what it would take to throw solar panels across most of our industrial buildings, including our schools, and have that offset? Especially schools, because their major operation is during the day,
Right.
when you would have the most opportunity to harvest sun. But then throw some of those Tesla iron NiCad,
Batteries.
the big batteries that are not the lithium ones. They're just iron with, I think, a small part of NiCad or something else like that in the alloy. Those last for like 50 years.
Well, and going back to the beginning of this, they think of us as the smellies.
They do.
So the AI data centers, we want to bring nuclear's good now. It's good. It's great.
Right. We couldn't get
but
it. We
couldn't
couldn't
get
get
it
a plant
for us.
Right. All of
they
France is
shut
shutting
it down, shutting it all down.
France had so much of their energy on nuclear, and they were shutting it down left and right.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're ramping it back up.
For data AI centers, not for us.
Exactly.
It's just that's the part that I think drives me the most crazy. But,
Exactly.
But
Go.
not-
Just be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, whatever suits your narrative, then it's okay.
So this is the one thing I want you to tee off on, because I've been around a long time. I've seen these guys that are running the show, or whatever identify as running the show. None of them have an understanding of AI like you do.
Right.
The future workforce, what we're up against, what's coming our way. Sean Fain, Marxist Fain, whatever you want to call him.
Drain the pain.
Yeah, Fain the pain or whatever.
Right.
he's no different than the rest of them,
Right.
unfortunately, except for he's even more insane with his ideology and the eat the rich and everything, which, because it's not like the rich don't build that factory that gives you the job.
Right.
You know, I mean, and again, there are bad people that are rich. There's bad people that are poor. There's bad people in all things, but overwhelmingly in all these different groups, there's more good than bad. Right.
Yes, right.
So, but what I want to hear is, what is your plan for the workforce going forward? Because we can't run away from it. We can't hide from it. It's coming.
Right.
I think it's a little further ahead than what they want to let it be, because they're scared if they just unleash this thing,
Yeah.
there's going to be such a wipeout of jobs. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's going to be more white collar jobs and data collecting and analysts and
100%.
marketing and all that. They will probably be decimated at a tune of probably 85% or more. You'll
Right.
be running complete plants remote.
Yeah.
And you will still have somewhat of a workforce, but how do you think you're going to combat that?
So let me start back kind of my AI journey. So about 2 years ago, everyone's talking about AI.
Right.
And so I was kind of curious, and
Okay.
I started playing around, researching it. And so I think it was the Christmas of 24, 25, somewhere around there, 2 years
Was it
ago.
like
whatever.
the Gemini, or what was it?
Well, I was just researching and just playing around. It was
okay.
kind of like right when it all hit and everyone was
Right.
talking about it, and you had Chat GPT and all
Right.
that stuff. So I come out of that over that Christmas break, and I'm like, holy crap. Because where I work at, my local's called a SBU, Salary Bargaining Unit. So a lot of us, it's like office and clerical, or like engineers.
Okay.
So I come out and I'm like, holy crap, this is going to kill our entire local. Like, there's going to be like 10 of us left, right?
Right.
Because the way it builds data. So I started putting together CBA language for our next contract. So it's like, how is AI going to implement? So it's going to be like, oh, we're going to have a committee. You know, we're not going to lose jobs to AI. You know, we'll allow like natural attrition, but we're going to redeploy the workforce and retrain them to maintain AI.
Okay.
And just, you know, it can't be used to like monitor us, issue like discipline.
Which is important, because the camera thing isn't even a thing anymore. Like, we're not allowed to have filming on the site for several reasons, but it's more than that. Just for instance, you know, the data, the systems that we run right now in our system, it'll monitor to another level. Like, I don't think people realize, like, there's the people that play the game and they'll like try to like watch their cycle light and they'll hit the button and stuff. They're going to have such a documented interest in us as people on that floor. It's important that someone like you is in place, because I frankly don't think that they don't even know how to use it or understand it.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand it. You know more than I do. But the people that are right now in charge of the UAW, they are completely blindsided. They're pretending like they're getting the ball going, but this is something, like you said, you've been dabbling with it for a while.
Right.
Sean Fain just talked about this like a few weeks ago.
He's
and it's
talked
like,
about it twice.
Right. And I'm like, and he has not had an answer. All he is we're going to combat it. Well, what are you going to do?
His
So-
solution was go to 32 hours a week, work
Right.
week, and get paid for 40.
Which you know where that came from. That's the European thing.
Yeah, I know. And then they lost
Where it's collapsing.
a million
Yeah,
jobs
it's
in
collapsing.
like 4 years from
Yes.
2020 to 2024.
Come on, socialism always works, guys.
Yeah, I know.
You got to socialism harder.
But
Socialism me harder, Daddy.
so, you know, but the thing is, like, they can go through and like check your mouse clicks, how often you're doing it. Like, they can take all this data. They can have a motion tracker and be like, okay, this guy's working. I'm not recording with your camera, but track your movements, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want Big Brother
100%.
monitoring me when I'm trying to do a good job and, you know, provide for my family.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be some type of, you know, people's talking about everyone's going to lose their jobs and all this other stuff. But at the same time, if we have a society of disenfranchised young people that have no purpose in life and are pissed off,
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be the Bolshevik Revolution 2.0.
Correct.
So I think that there needs to be some changes in the way we do stuff, where, you know, these companies, we not only need to take, you know, in consideration like short-term profits, but also the long-term profits and sustainability of the company and their customers and the people that work for them.
Yep.
Right.
So you can see this in Stellantis. I mean, they drove for huge profits in 2023. Their product is horrible.
Yep.
I mean, I drive a Chrysler, so
They did get a pizza party this year. For
that is.
profit share.
But
Is it? Let me ask you this.
That's brutal.
On this point that you're talking, Greg, is this similar to when they were what was the 80s when they were talking about, oh, we're going to all be replaced by robots, you know, these line robots. And they had the manufacturers and the workers had to figure out a way to incorporate that. I
Right.
got a buddy that he's a paint guy.
Yeah.
At Ford's. So he's basically there monitoring
Yep.
the paint robots. He's not literally in the booth.
Right.
Now that to me is a net positive because he's not exposed to all those
Oh, yeah, those
paint
chemicals
fumes
are
and all the
brutal.
chemicals and everything
I
like
used
that.
to do a spray tower. They were bad.
But he's still got a job there, and
Right.
he's still in charge of the overall process. When you start to get into this AI stuff, these things could ultimately. I mean, you're talking, as you said, with a lot of white collar. You can replace, you know, a multitude of people, and that's part
Right.
of the data centers. One of these things like, oh, it's going to bring in jobs. It's going to bring in 10 jobs. They're going to be H-1B visas, and you're going to have, you know, the whole society. So
Yeah.
speak to that. A little
So
bit.
so my thing is, okay, we need to put provisions in, but part of that is retraining the workforce. So
Yeah.
if you look how the UAW responded when the computers came about in the
Yep.
80s, instead of saying, okay, we're going to teach these people with the dues money they're paying in to how to use computers and, you know, service them, IT, and all these jobs that came about, we just lost 1 million jobs. And so my strategy is to try to hold off AI as long as possible. So it gives us time to retrain people,
Right.
invest heavily into skilled trades and get involved with trade schools and all this stuff.
Right.
And then, you know, focus on like skilled trades, healthcare, these type of industries, and redeploy the workforce so that we have like a job placement in every contract. So if I'm displaced, say, in one industry, I can go to another industry, and because I'm a UAW member,
Your skills transfer.
my
So-
skills transfer, and I'm at the top of the hiring pool.
So you mean to tell me, like, Fane can't stand in front of AI and say Marxist, 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 and it all stops?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's coming. I mean, again, you just got to look at how the computer came about.
And nobody wants to hear. This is the hard truth people don't want to hear, and this is why I really like your message. And people don't like hearing retraining. People don't. I mean, I got 27 years. I don't want to be retrained in jack.
Right.
But at the reality is, we're up against it, dude.
Yeah.
This is not one of those the 80s threat, and we only get 20% of the jobs cut by robotics or whatever. This is now a scarier form, and it's going to be slow at first because, frankly, and I'm not trying to be mean here, a lot of the guys that are tech right now are not skilled enough to handle the amount of robotics and the AI systems that are coming in. So if you have a breakdown, they're not going to be able to handle that new system.
Correct.
But the bad part is, as we fast forward, they won't need them anymore anyway, because AI is going to learn itself and it's going to be able to analyze and tell you what to do. You'll literally be a guy.
Right.
They're going to say, I need you to hit this green button, this red button, pull this lever, and hit the pneumatic air. It's going to be that. I know that sounds insane,
No,
but
it's
this
just
is
what
something
George
very
Carlin
much
said.
around the corner.
And remember what George Carlin said? Was we need you just smart enough to be able to push
Yes.
the buttons and dumb enough to not know that
which
you're a
is
slave.
American public education.
Right.
They want to make good little stewards, but
So this year, what you're going to see is in the next year to 18 months, you're going to start seeing middle management in these businesses being cut.
yes,
Okay.
big time.
That'll be the first one to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
From there, then it's going to start hitting like entry level white collar jobs. Then it'll transfer to materials.
Yep.
And
Material
you-
handling and
Yep, right. I mean, like your material drivers and all that stuff in the plant. I mean, I've seen stuff now where, it's just like two forks just driving in parallel together.
yeah, we have the auto hilos coming to our plant right
Yeah.
now.
Wow.
yeah.
So that's all going to be coming in the next 3 years. Now, white collar jobs are going to be the ones most affected in the short term, and then eventually it'll start hitting production probably in the next 5-10 years.
Right.
But right now, all the capital in the United States is built up with data centers, right? And the other thing too is boomers, 10 years ago, there was all this capital. I mean, you could take out a loan and have 0% interest and make all sorts of money. Well, now all the boomers are pulling out all their money out of the markets, right? Because they're retiring. So now capital is expensive. So a lot of the jobs you've seen this past year, they say it's due to AI. It's
Right.
because these businesses overhired during COVID.
Right.
And
Right.
so
They
they're
were on the
correcting.
stimulus and they were just pumping.
Right. And so now they're correcting the market, but it's easier to say, well, it's due to AI and whatnot, because that's low hanging fruit. They don't want to say, we overhired and we're recorrecting type thing.
Okay.
So I don't think in the manufacturing sector it's going to be as quick as what some of them are saying.
won't.
Because the cost to switch to all that, right?
But
gonna be
should
so
we do
expensive.
this? No. You
Right.
know, like that's why I like that you have a plan in place and you're getting ahead of it because you see what's going to happen. And it might be that 10, 15 years that we completely have to look at our workforce differently. But the problem is the people in play right now.
Right.
They do not have a plan. All they have a plan is grab that hornet's nest, we're
Right.
gonna drop kick it.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time that contract came through, it was literally, I'm going to go and I'm going to drop kick this thing. I'm going to shut everything down. And hey, it caught them off guard because it's never been done. It's
Right.
never really been done since way back in the day. Battle of the Overpass and all the other things back then was like the hard line stance. So it worked. But mark my words, as you and I both know, if you did it once, do you think that billion-dollar companies are going to be like, if he does that again, I'm just going to have to open my checkbook? Like,
Right.
I just, that's delusional. And leading up to that contract, it was good. It was a good contract overall compared to, and I mean, here's the thing, you poop in the toilet next door and yeah, anything looks better than the bar set down there.
Right.
So yeah, we had a better contract, but what nobody wants to talk about is the 2019 contract we set reserved because it was a Trump economy. I know you're not a big Trump guy. You're more of a centrist of JFK times, which is
Right.
fine. I'm a Trump guy, but we have agreements and disagreements, and that's fine. But what's happening is you're getting this idea that we can just somehow think that all the things that he led up to that in the 2019 was ignored, and then 2023 when we got that big raise. That was really supposed to happen in 2019.
Right.
And they all knew it because John Deere coming into 2023 was our earmarker. They got a big raise. Cat got a big raise. UPS got a big raise. So it was going to happen.
Right.
But of course, Fain's antics and the whole eat the rich and all the other crazy, the rap things and all other stuff he was doing, the Fain show
Right.
was what it was all about. So what I'm nervous about is what you're talking about is reality. What he is talking about in this round is fantasy. This whole screaming and smashing and the ideology of the socialist, Marxist, communist ideology, we're just going to go rabbit punch him in the junk. It ain't going to go that way this time.
No, I mean, if you look at the last one, I mean, like at Stellantis, they did a critical overtime, built up a bunch of product,
Yep.
and backfilled the channel, and then they're just going to wait you out.
Yep. And look what they did with their production, right, leading up to the 2024 election. The very people the UAW endorsed, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, switch them one way or the other, they said, we're the most pro-American administration and pro-union labor administration ever. And as they said those words going into that election year, Stellantis, Caterpillar, John Deere, Tyson, I can go down the list, all bolted for Mexico.
Right.
And they held in Mexico while they were in office.
Right.
And then as soon as Trump won, those jobs came back. And you know who went like this? Sean Fain. Oh, we bargained those jobs back.
Yeah.
We brought them back. I mean, I want to be in his world where you just identify as awesome and it somehow works.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't,
your
but
plan
yeah.
is a realistic plan and what we need to move forward, because I don't think, grabbing the 2x4s and the bats and swinging at stuff blindly like a bull in a china shop, it's not going to work,
No.
man.
And the other thing, too, is, they're endorsing Biden, but Biden voted for NAFTA.
Yes.
So,
He was
in
a
my
big
opinion,
advocate for Biden, for
Right.
NAFTA.
Right. So,
Right.
in my opinion, anyone that voted for NAFTA, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent,
Yep.
the minute you voted for that, you should never got
Right.
another endorsement from any union.
Right.
And
It's an automatic disqualification.
yeah, that's, for me, it's automatic disqualification. Just on that, doesn't matter anything else.
But isn't it funny, though? It was crafted by the Bush family. We remember that.
Yeah.
But it was signed into law by who?
The Democrats.
Okay, so,
By Bill Clinton.
because
Now,
they,
remember,
they
listen.
brought it, but as soon as they signed it, then it's like, oh, it's a D. You know,
Come on, you're going to hear this big sucking sound.
Yep.
Well, the other thing,
Smart
too,
man.
is people try to tell me that, well, Bush negotiated it, so we had to do it. And I'm like, have you ever heard of the League of Nations?
Yep.
The League of Nations was negotiated by Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Won the World War I, brought it back, and Congress is like, nope, not going to happen.
Not gonna do
So
it.
to say that they had to follow through is a complete misnomer.
Correct.
And at that time, in the fall of '93, so November, early December, Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
Yep.
That is 100% a Democrat bill.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
Leftists,
Let
you would,
that
you would
sink
call
in
it,
for the people listening
Yeah.
when we share this, because they have this idea that they're not what they say they are.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and exactly what they voted for is, basically the knife at their throat.
right.
And
You're talking
it's
about
over
a
and over
group
again.
that portrays themselves as being for the worker,
Yeah.
who then voted
Guts the worker.
unanimously to destroy the workforce
Yeah.
by shipping jobs overseas.
right.
I mean, I'm
Or
in
at
my
least
eighth
south and north of the borders.
plant in 27 years because some of them closed, some of them lost the product, some of the product production got reduced and sent over. All of it was sent out of the country.
Right.
So we dealt with that already, and that was a hard swing for a lot of us. But a lot of these young workers, they've only been in one or two plants,
Right.
and they don't understand what's happening. So there's other
Right.
things that he's going to talk about tonight with the traveling with your 401ks and all those
Yeah.
modern ideas, because it's going to get to a point where it's not going to be like we're used to.
Well, we can't maintain the status quo of everything staying the same. If there's one thing about change, is that it's inevitable.
Right.
I remember reading, I don't know if you ever studied Jimmy Durant, the Buick guy out of Flint and all that stuff.
Okay.
And he was like a buggy whip, the buggies and the buggy whip manufacturer. And at a certain point, he saw that the automobile was coming and pivoted.
Right.
And made those, and he knew, listen, you might be a guy that's out there. At one point, there was a whole bunch of guys out there making whips for the buggies, because you got a horse-driven carriage and you had to, well, those jobs go away or they get severely diminished. We're always going to have manufacturing chain. I mean, Henry Ford was such an innovator by just introducing a production line.
Right.
Not just doing the individual manufacturing of a single car in one bay, but having this whole thing where you knew your parts were here and here and here and here. That alone, but he had the method of, I want to make sure that my workers can buy the product that they're producing,
Correct.
and that they have a living wage aside from government supplement, like they talk about living wages today. And so this, I'm speculating, this is part of what your strategy is. Look,
Right.
the change is coming. But how do we maintain?
How do we adapt, and how do we maintain as many people as possible?
Right. And so that comes with like the job placement, the retraining,
Yeah.
teaching people like using their funds instead of, some of the stuff that's wasted on, actually teaching people like, here's how you invest, here's who you need to connect, here's some strategies, here's how you balance a checkbook, the things that they should be learning in school that the modern workforce doesn't
And I know
have.
some people are going to think that's insulting, but it's not. You'd be surprised how many people
Dude,
have no
they have
idea.
more DEI and other bullshit in schools,
Oh, yeah.
and the kids don't know how to balance a checkbook.
We have sat through so much of that crap.
You guys, I don't know your age, but I know you, James. We've talked about this. But
I'm 45.
okay, so I'm 53. I had home ec class
So did I.
So did I.
And shop class.
and shop
Yeah.
class, and in my home
And
ec class,
he was missing 2 fingers, like the typical shop guy.
right? Yeah, exactly. We had in my home ec class. Okay, I made my own duffel bag.
Yep.
You had 4 or 5 different projects you could choose from.
Yep.
I had typing class.
Yep.
Yep.
I may never have gone into typing, but they're like, if you go into any white collar, you're going to have to learn to
Yep.
type. And we're on that first IBM with the ball.
Oh,
and you had to
yeah.
learn to type on that. We had computer class, but I also had a whole class, like a whole half a semester, on how to balance your checkbook and
Right.
pay your bills
Right.
and do all your stuff like this. The kids today, I talked to them, and they're like, they were like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I just look at it on my phone. It just told me.
Right, and you go, and they
It's-
go,
it's
"What do you
like
mean?"
magic money. They also think when they go to the grocery store, it's
It's
like
automatic.
it just came here.
I'm like-
how do you think this produce got here?
And talking about it, even some people, you'll say balance your checkbook, and they go, what are you talking about, balance your checkbook? That means if you pay a bill today with a check and it's not going to clear for a few days, you can't spend the money in your account on additional things.
Right.
Because you didn't account for what you've already spent that's out there.
Right, and my reasoning is this. So what happens is we want to leverage our workforce, when we're negotiating, to not be afraid to go on strike or to accept that, the bonus they get when they sign a contract, right?
Yeah.
So I want people to be able to live within their means and be prepared for the strike instead of getting there and they're like, oh no, what do I do?
Which
Right.
even after that great contract, I can't tell you how many people.
Didn't budget.
No, well, they don't want to work, right? They're not coming to work, And then we got a major contract coming up, which
Yeah.
is probably going to have some strikes in it, if not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And these people are so ill prepared. I mean, the last time it happened, I'll never forget. I was standing by a girl. We went out there. We're out there helping, and this girl's telling the media, not even a week in, she's losing her house. Well, first of all, I buy
A
houses.
week in, she's
A
losing her
week in,
house?
right? So I'm looking and I'm like, somebody should probably grab her and just make her, shh, you know.
You're losing
She's
your house?
telling the whole story. And I said, do you know how long it takes for someone to lose their home?
More than a week.
If you're under an acre,
So-
it's 6 months before they can even.
So what's funny to me is, and it's not funny because I mean she probably was losing
It's
her
funny,
house. But
ironic,
She literally
it's not
lived
funny,
behind
ha-ha.
the ball,
Right.
And these are the same people who are like, I'm gonna make a stand, and then when Fain's saying all those things, dude, look at your workforce. 43% on any given book-in day.
Yeah.
Don't show up for the abuse of FMLA or my feelings hurt today or whatever reason. There's a lot of abuse going on, and hey, FMLA is federal, so okay. But here's my problem. We're advocating, we're giving these people the forms when they hire in, we're like making it part of the thing. And it's like the moment that person hires in, it's kind of like a liability. Like that's why we don't do blind, like people are like, we should just do blind,
Right.
it should be drawn by numbers. Well, no, because if you want somebody to throw mufflers or put something in a rack that's 60 pounds or 30 pounds, and
They
the
kinda have
lady's
to be able to
80,
lift-
she's 80 years old,
It's not
and
gonna
got
work.
rigor mortis, almost half dead, and then you
She
got
needs
a
to be a greeter at Home
23-year-old,
Depot or
right.
Walmart.
And it's like that's the reality that we're in, and
Yeah.
and I just don't think that the workforce that we have is prepared for what is coming with AI. Number one,
Yeah.
but number two, like we played the game, it worked out well the last time. Mark my words, it's not going to be like, hey, we're going
And
to
what-
drop kick these guys in the nuts, and
Yeah.
they're going to come running to the table and just throw money at us like we're strip club heroes.
And they're saying right now, one of the last statistics I just heard is 60% right now are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So when you do
in
a
our
strike,
plant, probably worse.
and when you do a strike,
Yeah.
people can't survive that long.
Right.
And so they're going to
And
capitulate.
not only that, let's talk about this. This is one thing they won't talk about because they advocate for these people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Fain has advocated for illegal aliens nonstop. Like, illegal aliens are great. And
Do you-
they're
What?
not bad
Yeah.
people. They're not. Do you think for 1 minute when the company knows we have a massive workforce of illegal aliens willing to work for anything, you don't think they're going to come in on box truck? We've seen this stuff at some of the small strikes.
Dude.
What happens when you have millions of them?
Try to find a company that does bricklaying,
Yep.
drywall,
Roofing.
or roofing,
Yep.
right? There's a,
Pull up in an ice truck and watch how many people run away.
dude,
I'm dead serious.
I know. And I'm like, I was talking with a client of mine. I'm like, you have a little Mexican company. They'll come in and do
Yep.
a 2,500 square foot house in a day.
Right.
Yep.
2 days if they board it,
Yep.
and mud it. But they're in and out in a day, and they're pouring out. Unfortunately, the scenario, they're pouring out like cockroaches out of the back of a van, But they do a hell of a job. But they're undercutting
The workforce.
the workforce.
They're
Walter
undercutting
Reuther-
work labor altogether. That's why I
Yes.
can't believe he's advocating for. Well, he's a Marxist.
Right.
so-
But Walter Reuther is actually against illegal immigrants.
Right.
So, and right now the UAW is suing the Trump administration over H-1B visas and stuff. And my dues is going to that. Why
Yeah.
would we be fighting for someone outside our country?
Correct.
It makes no sense to me.
And not only that, most people don't realize the H-1B visas, and I've studied this myself. H-1B visas, they will do the visas, and in particular the Indians.
Right.
Yep.
And the Indians will come over, and they'll end up being upper management of a company,
Yep.
and then they will bring in hundreds of people from their own village to populate it, and pretty soon the whole company is Indian, and they will exclude any native workers.
And there's a law in place. This is the funny part. Everyone should listen to this part. So to protect ourselves from H-1B visas taking over everybody's job, we have to be fair. I forget what act it's called, but so what they do is they have to advertise to Americans first. You know what
Right.
they do? They pull an ad in the newspaper that nobody reads.
Nobody's reading that
Nobody's
shit.
reading it, right?
No.
So they put an ad in the newspaper and say, well, we tried, and then they hire a bunch of H-1B visas because nobody answered the ad. They don't put it online. They don't put it. They don't put it out where people are going to see it. Unemployment office isn't drafting people from there. Michigan Works.
Right.
It's going
maybe
into a
spend a few
newspaper.
bucks on
and it's
a
probably
group flyers.
so small.
Right.
It's probably you can't even read it, and it's probably right under man seeking hamster love with crickets.
Right. And plus, the other thing is these people are hired in at less pay.
Yep.
And then there's whole industries that even take from that 20% a cut to bring them in.
Right.
So you get a guy, say it's a $100,000 job. They're honestly making between
He's
50
clearing
and
60. Yeah, 50, 60.
Well, not only that, your visa's connected to that company, so you better do what they say. So
Right.
when let's say you're an IE, an industrial engineer that's there to cut jobs.
Yeah.
They tell you got to cut to the bone. Right.
Right.
They don't care at what cost. And these people you'd say jump how high?
Exactly.
Do I have to walk across fire today?
They say, how high would you like me to jump for you today?
Yep. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And we're getting mined.
It's not that they're Indian or Pakistani or any of these other ethnicities directly. No. It's the fact that
They're
we're
taking America's
jobs.
jobs.
It's not the Somali pirates directly in Minnesota. Right. It's that we're facilitating the corruption. Yep. That's the problem. When we
our
facilitate
money
the corruption,
to NGOs to bring them over here from land and sea and everything else on our taxpayer dime, then they live on our taxpayer dime.
Yes.
And then my favorite is we have a housing crisis. Well, how many illegal aliens are in the housing thing? Vouchers from the government.
Right.
I mean, probably all of them.
Yeah, and if they're not doing it, then BlackRock's buying up all the houses for twice what they're worth in the market.
Yep.
So there's a big difference because when you had the Irish and you had the Italians coming over at the turn of the last centuries, they were sometimes rejected
at
because
that point you had to.
Oh, your last name's Zerpalo or whatever it is. You're not accepted just based on that.
Yep.
And they would get back on the boat, and then they would come back and go, I'm Smith.
Yep.
And they would come through. They knew coming into this country at the turn of the last century that they had to adapt and assimilate.
Wait, they couldn't indoctrinate the Americans?
No, they had to adapt and assimilate. But now we have all these leftist communists that have infiltrated corporations and government to where they don't want people to adapt and assimilate. They want to make money off of them.
Right.
For every Somali pirate that they're catching over there in Minnesota, there's probably 10 politicians that are banking off that whole thing. And so you're dealing with both of those, dealing with the UAW. And I put in our notes talking even about the history of unions and their original purposes and that dynamics. But dealing with this AI and the removal of jobs and then dealing with the illegal aliens, there's a whole assault on this, and what you're explaining to the audience and to me tonight is that you have a plan to go, you know what? We don't want to just get rid of the workers. We want to help the workers continue in this force. And if we need to adapt and overcome, if we need to adjust what we're doing in those industries, we can do it because the buggy whip didn't last. Okay, we don't have anybody forging cranks for crankovers. We got starters now. We don't have somebody that's working about cranks on the side. We've got power windows. We've got everything is adapting and overcoming. There's adjustments. My buddy works outside the booth, and the booth is in there spraying. We get all of that innovation and movement, but how do we maintain the infrastructure of our workers? Because at a certain point, I know there's industries. I still have my builder's license. You have your builder's license, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you didn't have it?
No.
I thought you had yours. Anyways, I have my builder's license. So
I build a lot, but I'm not.
right. But my point is that in being a builder, I know that they may bring a bunch of illegals in to do certain work. Okay. But you're not going to be able to get a house from Mexico or China.
That's right.
Somebody's actually going to have to build it. We may get some of our products from there. We may get some of the trades that come over and are doing stuff. But ultimately, there will be a dynamic that has to be in-house, that has to be here on the ground.
Right.
Because you can't change that.
Well, not only that, it's for national security. If we go through COVID 2.0,
right,
or if we go to war against China.
Rosie the River wouldn't happen today.
Yeah. I mean, we would be in a world of hurt. So, I mean, just from a national defense strategy, as much money as we spend, over $1 trillion in defense, I mean, this should be a priority as well. And so my big thing is, we retrain, redeploy the workforce to be able to manage AI, to learn AI, because if you have a guy that knows how to use AI and a guy that doesn't, the guy that knows how to use it's going to keep their job.
Correct.
So we need to give as many benefits and advantages to the UAW members as we can to keep all of our people in the UAW family and to grow into like skilled trades, because we need those people to build those houses and the infrastructure and all the data centers that's going up, right? And we also are going to be working on energy. So, they got these...
Energy is going to be worth more than gold and dollars. I will say that.
So that was another thing, like if you, on my original platform, when I went, that investing in energy, they have these things now where they're testing, where they're making small nuclear reactors that sit on a flatbed of a truck, and so they'll just bring those into a data center and run those up in parallel instead of having this great big nuclear facility. We got these small flatbed, whatever. So we need to be focusing on getting into those industries and whatnot, right?
Right. We should be trying to manufacture those.
And so with what Thane has been saying is, he's also pushing for, 401 or pensions and health care for retirement.
Okay.
So
Are we going to get both those?
no, you're not going to. So here's
It's
my
not
thing.
pie in the sky. It's not the rainbow. And
No. So right now, if you look at Bureau of Labor Statistics, since 2014, job tenure has dropped, I believe, to 3.9 years for an employee. The average tenure...
3.9 years.
3.9. And
Wow.
the average...
That's lower than the NFL.
Yeah. And the average worker under the age of 45 is 2.7 years.
Wow.
So if I'm going to...
That's a lot of attrition, though, right? That's some attrition of people just retiring out.
No. So
No?
if you're 45 and to 18,
Okay.
you're going to work for a place 2.7 years on average.
Okay.
Because the younger people, they don't want to work somewhere 30 years and be miserable. They've seen that with their grandparents and their parents.
Right.
They're going to go, yeah, I'm not putting up with this. I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Right.
I think the big three is a little higher than that, just because it's a little more stable. But I will tell you, working
Maybe
with
some
these
of the outliers. Maybe some of the
working with these young
suppliers.
people, a lot of them, I mean, they got like 4 years and then they're like, I'm sick of this. And it's like, dude, you got 24, 25, 26 years to go.
Right.
Right.
So
And-
as far as the mentality, you're right as a worker too. But the overall, I know the standard for America is right now at those stats.
Yeah. And so my point is, okay, we have AI coming. It's going to be the largest disruption to the workforce in human history.
Yep.
So do you honestly think that you're going to come in today, get a job, and work here 30 years? This data says probably not.
No.
And so I'm just being real with you. So why would we live and die to get a pension? And I could see the company saying, yeah, let's do it.
And then cut them all.
And then cut them off. All you got to do is look at what
That's the
happened
first
with
thing I
GM.
thought. Look at Honeywell. Look at Hostess. They gave up, I don't know how many concessions to keep their stuff, and then they just said,
Yeah,
we'll take all those profits and you're all gone. They threw them to the wind. So
Right.
Honeywell, Whirlpool.
Well, just the GM
Hostess.
battery plant.
Yeah.
Look what happened there.
Yep.
They wiped their hands. You had a couple thousand UAW jobs gone.
Yep.
So they get there, they get 4 years, they don't have a pension, no traditional health care, nothing. They worked that time and got nothing out of it.
Yep.
Wow.
So, maybe they got a 401k, but it was minuscule compared to what the other people get.
But isn't that the dynamic of corporations to where they end up they may start out good, but at the end of the day, they become bean counters who are just trying to figure out the margins.
Yeah.
And the people and the products are expendable. They start manufacturing more and more. The products are more and more junk. You know, have a refrigerator from 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. A nice beer fridge out in your garage. Okay, that fridge is probably going to last you another 30.
Yeah, the old cream
Years.
green colored one.
Hell yeah, with the pull handle like that,
yes.
it'll last forever. But your fridge now that you got 3 years ago,
It's gone.
it's already starting to
And
break
again,
down.
China took all those Whirlpools. China took all those
Correct.
popular. They dominated the market.
Yep.
They shifted it to throwaway product.
Right.
Then they moved it back, and you're not even getting it at a discount anymore.
Right.
Now you're paying more money, and it lasts less.
Correct.
So they've made it a sustainable
And it was
process for them. Every 5 to 7 years, you're replacing a major appliance.
And it was, well, they're selling insurance for this shit now.
Yeah.
To where you
DTE. I mean,
get your
yeah.
insurance for this so that when your appliances break down, you don't have this big crunch because you're living paycheck to paycheck and you can't afford it.
Everything
But,
will be a la carte. That's
yeah,
what they want.
it's this dynamic of they wanted to undercut the main problem, which was the workers, because most of your raw materials are pretty universal. You know, I mean, we lost all of our steel business because we sent it to Japan, which doesn't even have iron ore.
Which it is coming back.
It is
They
coming
have
back.
Major advancements. I do
Huge.
believe Pavlik just said they got 100,000 new workers in the last
Okay,
year.
but the bottom line is it ends up being the workers who were the one buying the product. So corporations are cutting
Right.
the workforce to make more money corporate wise,
Right.
and not realizing that the workers here in America were their most profitable most profitable consumer market,
Mm-hmm.
and so now they ship it overseas to be manufactured. They ship it back, and they're finding out, wait a minute, these people can't afford it
Nope.
because we've eliminated their jobs, and now we have the dynamic of we got to make it cheaper, even cheaper overseas, and it's coming back and it's breaking down, it's junk, and they still can't afford it.
Yep.
You know, it's becomes this vicious cycle in this.
Right. And
So you want to use at least the UAW to reinstill that, to go, we've got to support our workers one way or another.
We gotta get out
and
in
make
front
them
of it.
viable. Make
We
them
have to get
viable,
out in
and,
front of it.
and you have to see what's emerging with the new
You
emerging
can't
technology.
just like say now we're going to grab the bull by the horns when it's here. AI is a whole other animal.
Well,
I mean,
well
this
going
is-
back to this, what actually got me to run for UAW president was I had the CBA language. I actually had a working prototype of an AI for labor for the UAW.
Okay.
Like I used it for our local.
What does that mean?
So like say there's a grievance. Well, I have all of our contracts, MOUs, all past
Your
contracts.
AI would take that grievance
Yep.
and assess it right through there.
Yep.
Right. And so
That's a beautiful way to use AI.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so also it could go through and analyze all 500,000 past cases at the National Labor Relations Board.
That's a great way to
so
use
I
AI.
could say,
Yep.
okay, does this thing here that's going on, if it went to the National Labor Board, what's the probability that it would win? And then it could give me, a number. And
Probability.
then it'd say, well, we're missing documentation here, here, and here.
Right.
So then that lets me know. So when we file a case, we're going to win it, right?
Okay.
And
That's a great adaptation of AI, is to do that type of collation, to do that stuff. I mean, that's the major cost if you had any lawsuit, is it's not the lawyer themselves that looks at the final briefing.
Right.
It's
process.
it's the intern. My wife has a bachelor's degree as a paralegal. AI would realistically replace her completely, because you punch it in as you're doing, the parameters are hit, kicks back out. You're good to go.
And I know a lot of people are going to hear this and they're thinking, well, you're kowtowing to it. No, it's a reality of it's coming. This is not one of those like, we'll deal with it when it gets. No, it's here.
Yeah.
And we need to be in front of it now, and we need to be innovative about it, because if we're not,
Right.
this will be the biggest bloodbath we've ever seen
Right.
as far as losing jobs in this country.
Yeah.
But the point was, it was to empower our local to win. So the stewards, everyone still did their job,
Yep.
but now they were more prepared.
Yep.
Correct.
So the point is, so we win. It's a tool so we can win. And we're going up against companies that have these tools, that's
Been
spending
using
way
these
more
tools.
money than we are.
right.
And then people's like, well, you're taking the steward's job away. No, I'm giving them the tools to win every time.
We all went to high school back in the day, and we could walk into a bookstore and get Cliff Notes.
Yep.
We
Right.
could walk into a bookstore, they literally had them, Cliff Notes, and then for a long time, I don't know how popular they are now, but we had Math for Dummies or Algebra for Dummies,
Yep.
stuff like that. What was it? It was a synopsis and a shortcut to it. It still gave you the bulk of the information, but it gave it to you in a condensed form,
Correct.
so you weren't reading a bunch of fluff. I'll listen to different stuff will come through my feed and podcasts, and it's an hour-long video on something in the Bible, or some conspiracy or something
Right.
in the Bible or something like that, and I will recognize patterns to where it's repeating itself. And I'm like, you're repeating something you said 20 minutes ago. And a lot of people do that. I mean, that's one of the tools of church ministry is I'm gonna tell it to you. I'm gonna tell it to you again, and I'm gonna tell it to you finally, so you get it. Because anything in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let everything be established. So there's that dynamic of you want to repeat stuff, but at the same time, when you're doing collations like this, That's where an AI is phenomenal. They've
Right.
even got these ones they're advertising right now to where I could scan handwritten notes and the AI will recognize it, collate it, put it into a thing for me, and then I can go do my Listen, that doesn't replace me. That makes me that much more efficient. Now I can be out gardening for 2-3 hours and not sitting in front of a computer for that entire time trying to put it together myself. That's a benefit to society.
Right.
But when it replaces me as a human being, now it's a problem.
Right.
And you got to find that balance.
Right. And so I had this all working. And so I just am like, here, UAW, take it. Mm-hmm. Just run with it. Here's what you should do. Run it through your lawyers. I had back channels and they're like, maybe we should run this through law or, legal.
Legal,
and it's
yeah.
like, it's 2025, June of 2025, and you haven't ran it through legal yet? What is going on?
Right.
And so
And legal's going to run it through their AI.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened was the big beautiful bill was getting pushed through last summer.
Right.
There was a provision in there that they were trying to sneak through so that states couldn't regulate AI for a period
I
of 10
remember
years.
that was a huge uproar in the more alternative media, which has really become the main media.
Right. But, like even in music, you want like Nashville to be able to regulate AI so it doesn't wipe out that entire industry, right?
They've got major artists right now that are being played that they find out are actually completely AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their faces, the
Yep.
music, everything.
Yep.
I had my previous guitar player. He wrote out a couple paragraphs of what he wanted. The thing came up with a whole set of lyrics. He plugged that into another AI and told it what the parameters were. It came up with the whole song and he sent it over to us. I'm like, that's a really good song.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's all fake.
Yep.
And people will know it, ultimately. Because you can't replace a studio musician.
Right.
Because you're going to have that little bit of you want flaws in life. Listen, we got a mole, we got a freckle, we got a crookedness or whatever it is. That's what makes us unique and
Correct.
human is our flaws and our things. They're things that God said, I want you to have that little quirk, that little tick,
Right.
that little thing, Not talking about the poisons from the pharmaceuticals, but I'm saying it, the natural things. And that's what we miss is that authenticity of people. We have to be in control of the systems and the final arbiters
Right.
of what that system outputs. But using systems in there, listen, I don't have to get on my horse to ride to the store.
Right.
I get in my car. So I appreciate technology.
Right.
But how we use it and how it affects us and what control we have is the dynamic.
Right. And so when that was all going through, the Teamsters was actually out ahead of it.
Okay.
And so I contacted the UAW. I'm like, listen, you guys need to be lobbying for this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened was Sean Fain was busy out campaigning for Mondani and some other guy over in Detroit. That
For
was a
Mondani?
The Kami Mandami.
Oh my God.
And so
Yeah, he was fanatical about him too. He
yes. And so when I saw that, I'm like, it's never going to be addressed.
No.
Because
Yeah.
they haven't talked to it yet.
No.
The UAW wasn't even on the AFL-CIO
Yeah.
committee on AI until the end of June of 2025.
Wow.
That's when they got on it.
Because even the ones they put on it don't understand it. That's the problem.
Right.
Right.
So when I saw that, it was like that weekend, and I'm just fuming because I'm like, this affects every UAW worker. That affects 20, 40,000. Okay, so say it's 5-10% of the workforce.
Yeah.
This affects 100%. Why are you not focused on that? So
Right.
I was at church, and I don't know, it was it was after 4th of July, like that first Sunday.
Okay.
I just felt God like, run for UAW president. I didn't even have any ambitions.
Right.
But I walked out at the end of service. I told my pastor, I'm like, I'm running for UAW president. He's like, okay. He didn't know what that meant. And I texted my union president. I said, I'm running for union president, the UAW. He's like, well, good luck,
Right?
I mean, like my chances are like 1%,
But when the Lord tells you to do it, you go, okay, Lord, I'm gonna be obedient. And then at the same time, win or lose, you're injecting ideas into the dialogue, and you're also it can set you up for other things.
Right.
But I love what you're saying, the pre-conversation during dinner, but also what we're diving into now. You have a plan. That's viable. That's a
Right.
viable
And-
candidate thing.
And tell him it's been the good old boy club. I mean, 2003, we had Ronnie Golden Turd. Golden Finger, but I call him Golden Turd.
Is his name really Golden Finger?
Ghetto Finger. So Ronnie Ghetto Finger in 2003 came up with one of the better contracts of its time.
Yeah.
We were going to get a 3% increase every year,
Okay.
which would have been a 12% increase. He secured a whole lot of job security within our classifications.
It should
and
really
the other things over
follow
there.
pretty close to
But
inflation,
the
right?
bad part was,
Yeah.
before we could get them, the big three came back and cried and said, we can't do this. We're going to collapse and whatever. And what was a sealed contract forever. Like, once you sign that, man, it's like blood and ink.
Yeah.
Like, it ain't opening.
Right.
They took the crocodile tears, they opened it up, and forever since then, they basically can take a la carte whatever they want for the succession of the company.
Well, didn't they wipe out a lot of the majority of all the contracts the first time GM declared bankruptcy?
Yep.
They wiped out a ton of it. And then
So-
I had buddies that lost jobs,
Yep.
went to work for somebody else, and then got hired back 6 months later.
Yep.
You know?
And then turn around later on, which was what created all this tiers and unequal people. In 2007, they threw it on the table. Well, hey, it's going to be non-primary jobs. It's going to be offline jobs. And we're going to make these tier workers and everything else.
Yeah.
And here's the bad part. A lot of legacies in my side of the table, they voted yes.
Right.
I voted no, because I'm telling you, anytime that somebody's going to do a job, I don't care if it's off the line, next to whatever it is.
Right.
This is your pay scale. And then they turn around and made an 8-year max out, all these different things that came after that. And then after 2007, 2011 came, they expanded it to everybody. And then I'll never forget Jimmy the Settler, saying, anyone that votes no on this contract, I question their intelligence. And I thought, wait a minute. You're a collective mouthpiece for us.
Right.
You're supposed to be a collective mouthpiece for us. You're supposed to be reciting what we want as a membership, but yet you're barking downhill
Right.
and telling us what we're going to take. And to make things even worse, collective bargaining and bargaining, out of strength, pattern bargaining,
Right.
you always take the lead strength. Well, what they did, instead of taking Ford that year, was one of the first times they came out of it just flying, because Al Mullally did a great job. Whether we like salary people or not, Al Mullally did a great job. He did a brilliant job, and he brought Ford back. We were a few years ahead of everyone else at that
Right.
point.
Right.
And the weakest one at the time was Chrysler.
Okay.
So what did the UAW do? And this is when we, later on we found out why. They were getting bribed and kickbacks and all these other things.
Surprise.
Well, they pattern bargained down to Chrysler and drug everybody else down. Then they turned around in 2015, expanded it even more. It was failing because a lot of the southern plants were like, I can see how this is going.
Right.
You guys are selling us out. You're basically walking over our warm bodies before we're even cold.
Right.
And you're selling us out. So they are voting no. Well, of course, people tied to Local 600 were, we're going to get, there's one of them stink bugs again. There he is.
Is he
Oh my
flying?
God, there he is. So anyways, they
Squirrel.
they said they needed, I think it was I don't know how many thousands of votes, but they were like, we're going to wait and we're going to have Local 600 do it last, right?
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, it was failing miserably.
Okay.
And the show up for Local 600 at the time was really low. I mean, as far as people showing up, people just get to the point where it's like, well, I vote, it's not going anywhere. I always vote, but I understand people that have that mentality, because it gets monotonous. It's just like, you
Right.
guys don't care. So
Yeah, when you get
all of a sudden they
disenfranchised,
had
you're like, what the hell?
record turnout, and they get the exact amount of votes in their taped up trash cans that are protected by the Solidarity Soldiers. They sleep by them at night, and they got the exact amount, and it passed, right?
Uh-huh.
And a whole bunch of pad and all these different things, and then you
Back
turn
to the
around.
days of Jimmy Hoffa,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all rigged.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
you move forward in 2019, which is the first time I ever saw a president of the United States put his thumb on the scale with President Donald Trump, Mary Barra, because at that time we were doing strike targets still. I think Rory Gamble was our UAW president. Terrible. We got 7% total or something. It was awful, and one of the most awesome performance years the Big Three ever had. And Mary Barra sat there at the thing and said, you know what? We're going to take everything down to Mexico. And she walked away from the table.
Wow.
And basically was not willing to bargain in good faith and walked away. And everybody threw a fit. And this is why I don't understand the UAW's hatred of Donald Trump. And it's I know you're not a Donald Trump rah-rah guy. That's cool. But anyways, she walked away from that table.
Yeah.
Within an hour, President Trump said, I'm going to tariff your products so hard if you send them to Mexico, you won't be able to sell them in our country.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, guess who came back to the table? Like I'm talking now.
Right.
Mary Barra. Signed that document, boom.
Right.
And it just cracks me up. Like, he's the first time I've ever seen a president stick his thumb on the scale. Like, wait a minute.
And
You've been getting all these tax breaks.
Yeah.
You've been getting all these things from American taxpayers. And then you're going to say, I'm going to take all my things out of the sandbox that we paid for, and you're going to go to another country? No, I don't think so.
And isn't it totally anathema, totally in opposition to the dynamic of the UAW?
Yeah.
To be able to say, well, screw it, we're not going to negotiate with our workers or help negotiate on
Right.
behalf of our workers.
Right.
We're just going to take everything south.
Yep.
Dude, that's your job is to be the best negotiator for the people
Right.
that are part of your union.
Right.
That's
and,
your
and
job.
Mary Barra, she had a bone to pick. She had just gotten kind of ragged on when she first got the job, and the key thing had happened, an engineering thing. So she had a lot of crap on her already from
Okay.
GM when she took over for, I believe, Wagner at the time or something.
Mm-hmm.
But she kind of had a hothead when she sat at that table as the CEO. And yeah, the UAW kind of just sat back, and I thought, well, was that your plan? Because if Donald Trump didn't step in, like, we were going to lose massive amounts, which
Far more than NAFTA
Right.
ever did.
Fast forward to 2024, again, like I was saying before,
Yeah.
Biden and Harris were just advocating, oh, we're the most pro this and pro American worker and pro union administration ever, and we were bleeding jobs faster than we ever, and high paying jobs.
Right.
So my thing is we need to get out of this idea that we're going to be a political advocacy with CAP and all these other things that we're doing with our union dues. That's a waste.
Right.
And it needs to go back to training and these things that we can make our workforce more prepared for what's coming ahead. But
Yeah.
more, we have these political aspirations in our ranks that they don't care about us. They sell us out. We've
Right.
seen it. I mean, dude, I remember it was so corrupt when Dennis Williams was going to get arrested. He was out in California in a condo. And he had a cigar, and he's back like this as the FBI kicked the door in because he knew they were coming. Someone told him the FBI was coming. This is how corrupt they are.
Oh, yeah.
And he just sat there all smug and didn't care. And then they hired Gary Jones, a bean counter out of, I'm trying to think of what local that was, but he was there to hide the money.
Okay.
And they did catch up some pallet of money that he had at his house, but it was small compared to what had gone missing.
Right.
Mind you, we have like over $420 million of trying to organize one southern plant. No one ever found out where that money went. We've never even found where that went.
Wasn't
Then
it like $2 billion for the battery plant up here that went missing or something like that?
Well, that's different. That's not had nothing to do with us.
But I'm saying is involved in these
Right.
industrial
Right.
corporations.
But this was our union dues. This was our union dues
100%,
taken.
100%, dude.
And then now
Should your union dues go to any political
That's
campaigns?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you want, I liked what the Teamsters did. It was
Yeah.
probably one of the best positions, and Trump took it as a win, which is fine. You know Trump. You know how he is. But
It's great. It was wonderful.
Right.
It was great.
But bottom line is, they said, you know what? We surveyed our members.
yeah.
They did not want to endorse Biden and Harris. That's all they were given. Whatever.
Right.
And they stayed out of it. If
Which
we
they should.
stop, yes, we got to stop this because
Why is the UAW or any of these other unions endorsing any candidates?
And right now,
they're supposed to be there for the
Yep.
workers. That's the history of all of these unions.
right now they're bullying the lower rank and file below them in the leadership, and they're
Right.
telling them, if you don't show up at the Democratic convention,
Yeah.
holding the sign and going all psycho up there like we're all in on this stuff,
Right.
basically you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
So the bullying intimidation is still there.
Yep.
I don't, the blowing up cars and stuff of the Jimmy Hoffa era, I think is pretty much gone. But they are getting crazy with the Marxist ideology.
Well, let me pull this up over here, guys. This is the from Wikipedia. This is the history of the UAW. So we'll take CIA or Pedia at its word. But look at this. Look at this right here. This this line. The union played a major role. Damn it! This major role for the liberal wing of the Democratic Party underneath the Walter Reuther presidency. Yeah, and that's from 46 to 70 he was there, right?
Yep.
Correct.
It's known for gaining high wages and pensions to automobiles. So they're saying right on here that they were aligned with the Democrat Party for a long time. And that's a dynamic that we got to kind of combat or look at, you know. And I wanted to dig into a little bit of the history of this. We've talked a little bit about AI. We've been doing a bunch of stuff, but the history of it, unions, so the UAW, according to this, was formed in August 1935.
Correct.
A lot of people died to get that.
And that's the dynamic. Is
a totally different atmosphere
I've
then.
always said I've come across a lot of union people, and I've had two. I had a drummer years ago that was a union guy, and I love my union brothers. And I'm like, when's the last time you were in a factory? Oh, it's like 4 years ago. I got a furlough, and I'm going to college, and I just kind of play the system to where I just keep going to college, and I don't have to actually go back to the line, but I'm getting paid. And it's like, you don't see that affects the other guys that work with, that you should be working with, and affects the company, because I got to pay 10 grand more for my car because you're a fucking,
Right.
using the system. But I had a guy years ago when I first got into construction, really first, so this is 30 years ago at least, okay? This guy got laid off from Buick City, right? No, no fault of his, but Buick City was going through its thing 30 years ago. He gets laid off. They negotiated, whatever they did, they retooled, they call him back. This is like 4 years he was off. Well, in that 4 years, he's a builder, he's building houses. My boss was subcontracting off of him, we were doing all sorts of stuff. And we're at lunch, and he's just, and he's just doing all this, and he's like, they're making me go back to work. So he negotiated with a couple buddies that he'd give him a kickback if they punch him in and punch him out. He never went back to work.
And see, that's the detriment of our own
And then he would
union right
complain,
there.
and I'm like, and I'm looking at those couple of examples of union guys, and I'm like, guys, as much as I am for the reason that unions were founded in the first place, because there was horrible. We remember the little girl.
And there's company employees, believe it or not, that do this
Same thing. But there were little girls back in the turn of the century, right, that were in these sweatshops, we would call them today, that were doing fabric manufacturing, and they didn't have proper fire escapes, they didn't have insurance, they didn't have this other stuff. There's a whole series that they did, the Iridium girls, that were, had to lick their paintbrushes and put the Iridium on the watch faces, and then they would get this, and they would accuse them of being loose women and all sorts of other stuff. So the unions played a huge role in being an advocate for the workers.
They created OSHA and all the other standards.
But then they lost their way.
Yes.
And they became an empowerment for shitty people to exploit the system, which happens. And then you read on the website that from 46 to 70, they were literally a liberal wing of the Democratic Party under that leadership. What we're looking at is, what you're looking at, Greg, is getting back to restoring the fundamentals of the UAW, representing the actual United Auto Workers.
Yes.
Right. So when Walter Reuther, you got to look at what happened in Walter Reuther's time. So he was, a component, major opponent to getting the AFL-CIO going.
Yeah.
I mean, he was part of that. They did the sit-down strike. They got the unions and safety and all this stuff because they just keep speeding up the line. People were getting hurt.
Right.
All great.
There was no standards.
Right. So then, in 54, the UAW endorsed Eisenhower for president. Eisenhower was pro-union. So, when the I Have a Dream speech, that was written at the Solidarity House. And so a lot of people don't know.
68 68 with the.
I think it was sooner, 63 is when that, I could be wrong.
With Martin Luther King?
Yeah. So, Walter Reuther, he is fundamental in getting.
Because that was one thing people don't realize, that after Martin Luther King got in for race relations and did the march through Selma and Alabama, all that stuff, he pivoted and he started representing a lot of union or at least wanting them to be union, black workers who were, or black or minority workers who were in these communities, especially trash collectors and a bunch of other stuff. He really pivoted in that, and then it was when he went into trying to get rid of or try to get us out of Vietnam. That's when they came after him and took him out. But that's a great dynamic. He's like, I have a dream,
Right.
that we can all rise.
But the thing though was, the union stepped in because black workers getting paid less than white workers. Like, that's a labor issue.
Yep.
I get with
100%.
that.
Yeah.
Everyone should be treated fairly and
100%.
equally.
All men are,
Even though they advocated later in 2007 to separate us into different pay classes.
Yeah.
Right. But so I'm talking under Walter Reuther's term.
Okay.
Right,
So,
I'm being facetious.
So give us some of this history. That's what I want to dive into. Some of this history.
And most people don't know this, Martin Luther King was actually a Republican up until like 59. And so what happened was a lot of people got arrested, and he called up Nixon. He's like, Nixon, come get us out. Nixon never responded. Maybe it was 60, but Nixon never responded. He called up JFK. JFK got him out. So, that's when, they all switched to being Democrats.
Yeah.
And Walter Reuther was fundamental in getting the Civil Rights Act passed. All this stuff, did a lot of great things.
Yep.
But people have taken and corrupted a lot of that over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So the further you get away from your
Roots.
the more corrupt and bureaucracy that happens. I mean, you see this at work.
Heavy lies the crown. I mean,
Yeah.
we're heavy on the top. The amount
Correct.
of dues we're paying for what the actual representation is compared to the membership. I mean, when I hired in at Ford in '99, there was 107,000 hourly workforce
Yeah.
in America.
Right.
Today, we sit at about 52 to 48,000.
Right.
Okay,
And
so
it's saying on over here on CIApedia that annual revenue is about 288 million. That's as of 2020, and the endowment actually has over $1 billion as of 2020.
The endowment's like 1.25 now.
yeah.
1.25. So that's a lot of cash to be able to do a lot of things.
Right.
So what the hell are we doing?
Well, and it's forced too. I mean, the cap, all that stuff that we're doing, it's a force on the membership, and we've lost sight. And here's the thing, you can't fight two battles at once. We have this idea that we can be this giant political arm, this radical arm, and then also turn around and somehow going to combat AI at the same time. They're delusional. You're going to have to stop the political arm of this crap.
And
You
we
gotta stop.
understand the political dynamic is you want to support a candidate that you believe is going to be your best advocate
Right.
in government, but at the same time to become overtly political and then just go with the cultism of the little D next to the, or the big
Not
D
only
next
that,
to the
they
name.
mail flyers to our house and they tell you who you better vote for.
Right.
I mean, it's not a threat, but it is. You know, you can't go out on the floor and say,
well,
I voted for this
James,
person.
you've
whatever.
shared on this podcast
Yeah.
before that you were attacked
Yeah.
in a bathroom and
Yeah.
had the shit kicked out of you because you came out as leaning more conservative Republican.
Well, no, that wasn't that. That
that
was
was
I
just-
got my plant closed because of NAFTA.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the sacrifices
And you spoke out,
of
but either way,
NAFTA.
you raised your
And what
voice.
happened was I got there,
Yeah.
and there was a bunch of temps there. I came with 7 years at the time. Well, my plant closed. I didn't want to come to your plant. My plant was closed.
Oh, so they were opposed to you
because of
coming up.
the
Yeah.
presidency that the UAW backed. My plant closed, and
So you had
eventually they
priority to come into the other plant.
Yep, and they saw me as I'm stealing your job.
Yeah.
Even though you hear this all brothers and sisters and blah blah blah. Well, you're a brother and sister until you're not.
Right.
And then when you're standing at the urinal holding your stuff, and you realize 5 people came in there, and by the time you realize those people aren't going to the bathroom and washing their hands, and then somebody takes you down on the ground and does a whole beat the holy crap out of you.
Right.
It changes you as an individual. And the crazy part is, like a lot of people in Stockholm Syndrome, I was taught, I'm a 4th generation auto worker.
Yeah.
And I never forget, like, you don't tell, you don't rat,
Right.
you don't go in, you leave that alone. And I left that, and man, it brewed inside of me for almost 12 years.
Oh, really?
Before I could even
12
talk
years.
about it.
Yeah.
I went and started work. I was very thin, I was quiet. But I started working out. I went, one of my friends up in Brighton did.
You're
just
like,
some
never
basic-
again, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I'm-
basically
I'm
now
doing-
it's like touch the button and find out.
Exactly.
And I don't look for the problem, but I will never let that come to me
Isn't that the
again.
dynamic? Is you want to fight? You better believe you got one. I'm
Right.
not looking for a fight, but if you
I-
want to fight,
I'd rather
I'm
be
gonna
a
stand up.
warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So it's just one of those things
That's
where
a good one.
I'd
Where'd you get that
rather
one
be-
from?
I don't even remember.
Dude, I'm going to put that one up on the board.
But it's one of those things where it's like I had to really look at myself in the mirror, and then once I became a father on top of it, I'm watching what they're advocating for.
Yeah.
And if you remember, like, it really was brother and sister and family. I mean, we all broke bread together and everything. The union was very, very tight. I mean, if you remember 1935, which I don't ever want to that's why I still pay union dues. It's the bedrock brothers and sisters that lost their lives for us, not these commie, corrupt,
No,
club
it was
that
those
we're seeing
guys
right
on the
now.
line that
But
could
the guys-
die at any
yeah.
moment
Do you
because
know
the
that
conditions in the factories were so
they
bad.
would send the guy to work, okay?
Yeah,
And you remember they bought corrupt police officers at the time.
yeah,
And they would sit with their family. And sometimes they would have their way with their wife. They would do things. They would say, hey, you better go to work and you better vote no on that organization thing because I'd hate to see something happen to Mary.
oh yeah,
They did that stuff. Or they
Yeah.
went to work and they said, hey, I don't think that guy's going to follow our rules. There's a whole bunch of people that went missing, not just Jimmy Hoffa, that they never found.
right,
They never found those people.
Right,
So
right.
I'm not delusional in the idea why the union was ever in place or why it happened.
Right.
But what happened was we allowed the socialist arm that's always been trying to bleed in here, which always leads to communism, has
Right.
been bleeding in. And anything that you know about socialist Marxists will take and they'll pull every dollar they can for themselves, which we're watching with Fain
Right.
and his own little posse that he's bringing up and the things he's doing.
Yeah.
Which is why I want someone that isn't part of the big three. He's not part of the corruption club. He wasn't at Black Lake teaching classes or whatever made up garbage they want to make up. He wasn't at the forgive me, but the boats and hose drive through at the Black Lake turnaround. He wasn't at none of that stuff. The secret cabin with the secret room that they had in. Why do you have a secret room? And why am I paying for a custom cabin?
because they got 1.25
Right.
billion dollars, man.
And then
I
they
mean,
never
a
have to
secret
answer
room's no
for
big
it.
deal, dude.
And things like the flower fund. If you look up the flower fund, some people should look at that flower fund because
Yeah.
today they're redoing that again, and they're doing it with selling tickets to events that were free. They're doing it all over again. So I've been advocating for Greg because Greg is not part of that cloth. Greg is coming in clean away from it. He's at an SBU.
Give me
Which they kind of look down on those.
SBU.
SBU
Salary
is an
bargaining
yes.
unit. So
he's,
I'm
he's
not
more
like
of an
an hourly.
independent. He's not the big three.
Okay.
But here's my biggest thing to them. So we've seen people come over from different things, like our girl Laura Dickerson. I don't even want to get started on that. But this man right here has actually negotiated bargaining chips. He's negotiated these things into his own local. He's been
Right.
an advocate and a big part of moving them forward, where a lot of these SBUs don't have that. They're basically ran by a bunch of clowns.
Right.
And they get ran in the ground, but he's not one of them. And we need a guy that is not part of the club.
100%.
The club, we thought, I voted for Sean Fain. I did.
Yeah.
Because I thought, hey,
So did I.
he's not one of the Currys. He's not one of the old school Jewel people.
guys.
He's not-
Yeah. So I want to come back to the history of this. I got to
yeah.
come back to the history of that, Greg. And looking at this, so I don't know when did Henry Ford pass? In the 40s or almost into the 50s? I want to say he lived to be into 1948, something like that. But I'm looking at the again, CIA-pedia. But I remember the historical, I wasn't there, obviously, but the sit-down strikes, the Flint sit-down strikes, that was specifically for General Motors. We know the history with Ford starting two companies before his that eventually one of them became General Motors. I thought the other one became Chrysler or was morphed into Chrysler, something like that.
So the Dodge brothers were
Yes.
they were funding Ford, but then in 1919 they sued because Ford wanted to give his workers more pay because there's high overturn.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to invest the dividends back into the company for infrastructure.
Right.
So in 1919, the Dodge brothers were like, nope, we want our dividends.
Right.
And so then that's when it
Because he walked away from two companies he started before he did the straight-up Ford Motor Company.
So, but then that's when it got codified into law that companies have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders. So
Okay.
that's what I'm looking to change.
So looking at this, so the big organization of the UAW really was catalyzed with this this sit down strike in Flint, which was GM. And what was it say? It says effective the production shutdown, idling 150,000 workers at 50 General Motors plants from California to New York. But it was organized. I mean, Flint and obviously Detroit was the big dynamic there. I think about the dynamics of where Ford came in and said, I'm going to do an assembly line. I'm going to make this the most efficient thing that it could be. And I want to make sure that my workers can afford the products that they're buying. And then you fast forward a number of years from whatever Ford Motor Company was, 1919 or where, I can't remember when he founded that one and started the assembly
it's
line.
like, I don't know, like late 19.
Yeah, we can look at that one. But you're coming into 1935 when this is organizing, and it wasn't even Ford.
No, Ford was the last one to be organized.
Yeah.
Because Ford
Because
was
they still
staunch.
had that momentum of him making sure that his workers.
Well, he had his own army. So like there was people that they got shot.
Yep.
Walter Reuther got beat.
Yep.
Walter Reuther got shot with
From
a
the
shotgun.
Ford company?
Well,
Well, it wasn't
general.
directly, but it was
Yeah.
bought corrupt
Right.
thugs and bought
and
cops.
one of Walter
Well,
Reuther's brothers got shot. He lost his eye.
Yep.
Okay.
So, there's all this stuff.
Well, I mean, this happens, and I'll do this aside and then let you continue. But there was a company out of it's me. I'm moving forward.
Okay.
There was a company out of I want to say Carolina or something like that, and this guy he went overboard to make sure his workers were taken care of. They had in-house daycare, they had health care, they had all this stuff, right? And somebody got a bug up their ass and felt it wasn't enough, and they wanted more of the share of the pie, and they organized a strike, and we want to unionize, okay? And they walked in the next, like that was a Friday, they announced to him that, and they walked in the next Monday thinking that they had him by the balls. He shut the company and sold it.
Yep.
And he was like, you fucked yourself.
Yep.
I'm done. I was doing everything right for you, and it wasn't enough because you got greedy. And then it was all this. I think of Mike Lindell doing the same thing. Mike Lindell, what he's doing strategically is everybody that works for the company has a share
Yep.
in the company. So they have ownership investment. I think that's a dynamic that's missing from a lot of the corporations.
I stay away from that because what happens in there, they start calling you shareholders, and what sounds like great messaging, it actually
yeah.
is a socialist mentality, and
I
it goes into the
and that's-
equity inclusion thing.
And I get that. I get that. But he's like, listen, part of the reason my workers, as far as Mike Lindell, always fight hard for their company is
Right.
because they have an actual share in it. And so there's always dynamics. There's always, but I think of this thing where you get people that are like, I'm doing everything I can for you, and for better or worse, they go, I've done everything I can for you. I'm going to hire some private security to shut you up because what else? You do have companies that have done
Yep.
in the past have done the best they can
Yep.
for their employees, and they're still disgruntled. They still don't show up. They still don't do this, and you go at a certain point. Not saying it's right,
Yep.
but they will go, listen, motherfucker, I've done everything I can to take care of you, and you're still an asshole.
And we're there right now. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think people realize if I'm a company and I know that I can operate on 43% not being there, how long before I'm like, well, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think people
That's
put 2 plus 2.
Right.
And that's the part that I don't think a lot of these workers are thinking about. I mean, if you can have an attendance problem as bad as 43% on booking days on any given Monday or Friday,
Right?
and you got a bunch of kids, and some of it is the society we're in right now. That they're making just enough money to pay the internet bill, so they got their video game, a 6-pack of beer, and their car payment while they're living in mommy daddy's basement. They're yelling for more meatloaf.
Correct.
So, I'm not trying to be funny about it. That is their goal.
That's the
But
reality.
we're indoctrinating people because we're teaching victimhood, not victories.
Correct.
We're teaching everything is
We're not
against you.
teaching- we're not teaching skills and empowering people.
You started here. You're never going to catch up to here. I grew up poor. I'm one of 6 kids. You'll never hear me say I didn't get a fair shot. My dad, where we may not have money, we were rich in love and the
100%.
word
And
God
that means
he
more than
taught us.
anything else.
And,
Yeah.
and he taught me to work. Dirty hands,
work
clean
ethic.
money.
Yep.
Dirty hands, clean money. It means I put my hands to the plow
Yeah.
and I make my way.
Right.
But if we have gotten away from that so bad in our membership, this is something that we're going to have to isolate and fix, because we're getting to the point where if I'm the company and I know that 2 days out of the week, I'm basically functioning on almost 50% less workforce, how long before they're like, you know what? AI and everything else, they could do this. And guess what?
Dude, I've
Who
met so
cares?
many union workers that they don't think twice about calling off, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
I've
not
never
just you,
AWOL'd or
but I'm
been
like,
late in 27 years in 8 plants ever.
and you're
and I'm
the
minority.
1%. You're the
Yeah.
1% because they're like, oh, I got a union job, no big deal. It's like it's harder to fire them sometimes than
Oh,
it
it
is
is.
for government workers.
is.
It's like holy shit. And you're.
But if you're a good worker that they can't own, they'll let you get your butt to the fire.
of
They
course.
will absolutely let you get a
And
whooping.
that's part of the dynamic of it's the
Well, it's bargaining in
Achilles heel.
bad faith. So if
Yeah.
you're a good worker, I'm dragging an anchor
right.
during a contract that doesn't deserve it. Then
And-
the
and,
anchor is
shouldn't
like,
the
well, I
contract-
want what he got.
Right.
and
Shouldn't
he's
the
not even
contract
there.
shouldn't the contract also include as much provisions to let people go? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got to be careful with that because
No.
the company is notorious for setting a table perfectly. Their lawyer teams and everything else, they
right.
are very good
I'm
at
not looking
setting
at
a
I'm not
table.
looking at from the company standpoint. I'm looking from when the UAW
Function.
is protecting somebody that can not show up for 90 days.
Right.
And still fight for a job and get a paycheck.
Well,
I'm
the
like,
problem we're running into is the FMLA. The FMLA is something federal. That's something that,
Give me
it
that
needs
acronym.
to be reorchestrated.
Give me that acronym.
Federal Family Medical Leave Act. It was passed by Clinton, I think, in '96.
Yeah. Well,
Listen-
it was actually passed. The first bill
Listen,
that was,
I
it
only
wasn't called
signed
that,
it
but it
because
was
Monica was
92.
hanging out in the Oval Office.
Yep.
I
And then
didn't
it was
think that
revised in
a big
'96,
deal.
which it took off like wildfire. And now it was supposed to be like for something. Now it's like
Right.
my uncle's brother's sister's dog
No,
has a missing
you've
toenail.
got to
I mean,
have
it's-
both dynamics where you hold the corporations accountable,
Right.
and you hold the workers accountable. It needs to go hand in hand.
Right.
You can't protect the corporation, and you can't protect the worker if they're being blatant in their
Right.
abuse. Both of them. You can't abuse the worker, and the
Right.
worker can't abuse the corporation. How do we
Well,
rectify
I mean,
that?
this is a cultural issue.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, especially with the tiers, that creates division, right? Because you and I, we're doing the same job, but because you're older than me, somehow you're worth more money than I am.
Okay.
So that leads to a culture of division.
Okay.
So the first thing
And
is
disgruntledness.
right. So we talk about solidarity, but we're not all equal. And this is more towards the big three. Like I work at General Dynamics. It's not like that, okay? I'm very fortunate with where I'm at in my local. But, I mean, those are things that have been used to erode that. Plus, you have a history of corruption at the Solidarity House.
Okay.
So you just have a cesspool of bitterness, corruption, all this stuff, and wonder why we're there. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to address the tiers. So we need to get rid of all tiers moving forward.
Explain that to the people in Ann Arbor. Please.
Yeah. So
The tiers, what are those?
So in 2007, when the Big Three declared bankruptcy, I know Ford didn't, but there was a lot of concessions the UAW did.
Right.
And so basically it was, okay, the guys that stayed from 2007 and worked before, they got a pension and health care and stuff through VIVA. Anyone else that came in, well, you get paid less, you got like a 20-year progression. I don't know exactly, it's like 10 years or whatever it was. You're going to be doing the same work, but they get paid less. So they created this tier system, so you don't get retirement health care or any of this stuff. And then they say, oh, well, we'll give to your retirement, but you're going to get a 10% 401k dump, but it's going to be like in BlackRock stocks and stuff that you can't sell.
Okay.
So you're going to get a 1 or 3% ROI.
They're not giving everybody just like a 90 days before you qualify for everything the company offers. They had this graduated scale of you're worth less than these other people.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's part of it. And so what's happening is, this needs to be addressed. And, they've talked about getting rid of tiers, but if we're in production and we both do the same job, we should have a 1-year progression, right? I mean, where I work at right now, I think it's 14 years before I can get the max pay. And it's like, I'm already skilled and qualified to do this job right now at max pay.
Right.
So why do I need to wait for 14 years? And
Right,
in our
right.
last negotiation, I won't say who, but one of the guys is like, well, that gives you something to look forward to. And it's like, what? Like, I want that money now.
So and that to me is the carrot and the stick dynamic that never ultimately. You're talking about, okay, I'm gonna work so many years, no matter what my skill set is.
Right.
And years ago, we were honoring the skill set of the people above everything else, right? Nobody knows what a fucking slide rule is today.
Right.
We go, what's a slide rule? What is that? And
Right.
I'm like, I've got punch cards from my father-in-law. I find them here in the man cave. Punch cards from using the old IBM. He wrote like 4 or 5 computer languages for the pharmaceutical industry before it went horribly bad,
Right.
even though it was never perfect. But I've got those things. It's like, dude, we don't have these skill sets. My grandfather was worked in the mines, and at the time he worked in the mines up in the UP in Ironwood. Their school had not the wood shops that we had. They had a wood shop.
Right.
Okay. They had a what was the other shop called? They would forge tools for the miners. So you're a high schooler. You could be 15, 16, and you're making a tool that a miner's going to come and the mining company is going to pick up 2 days from now when it's all assembled.
Yep.
That is going to be used in the mines, and then you're going to graduate and you're going to go work in that mine, and you may end up using the tool you made a couple years ago at your high school. That was the type of people we had in the 30s, 40s, 50s, okay? That could manufacture these things and that would directly, immediately be used in the industries that they were involved in. And now today, what are we doing with these? You know, nobody knows. I got 2 problems with 2 of the vehicles, right? The little things. I got a OBD plugged into it, and I'm like trying to figure it out, and it's like, oh, this computer fault over here, and you don't have any Bluetooth to your computer, so you can't connect to this, and you know, it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
it's crazy shit.
But going on about what I was saying,
Yeah,
they
continue.
created the tiers, but then also, like millennials, it was told you got to go to school. If you go to a trade school, that's where all the dumb kids go, right?
Oh yeah, you're the smelly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Whereas the guys would trade school, they're like, my teacher said it wouldn't amount to anything. I didn't go to college, and they hold up and they go, I went into construction, and they hold up a couple grand.
But the bad part is the stigma they put on it. Like I'll
That's
never
'cause they
forget
wanted to denigrate it.
even labor, like not even just skilled labor, but labor is still a very valuable asset, especially someone that has a particular labor set. But one thing you talked about when I walked away, you got to BlackRock, and that's where I want to be because I can speak for a ton of people. They are furious with our options with BlackRock. It is basically Class C garbage.
Right. It is.
And it's a maturity funds of it's trash. Your rate of return is not even the most basic of levels. And right now, most of my money that's in there growing is actually from when we had Fidelity. And even more than that, I've lost.
It's the difference between capitalism and crony capitalism.
But we need
No, you're
our big
exactly
thing
right.
is our BlackRock, and it's not even a thing against BlackRock itself. It's just our options suck. They're terrible.
Right.
You're not making your rate of return. You're not even there's quarters where you're not even making inflation.
Right.
And you're talking about your life savings going forward. We should have options of multiple companies. Like maybe you have a local one that you trust. You know, I have one that I throw money at that's a relative of mine that I trust. I trust them because I've done really good. I mean, you're talking about for my year in last year, 27%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Mine, you're lucky if you're seeing a 13, if it doesn't fall to 3, if it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
We need more options. We need to make them compete. I know one of the things he was talking about was a 777.
Correct.
I'd like to hear more about that because people need to hear that.
Yeah. So, going off what he said, you know, where I work, we're very fortunate. We're probably at the top end when it comes to like contracts and stuff for the UAW, and so.
But you're in AI. You're in the control systems.
Yeah. So what we have full flexibility. So like we come in and we get fully vested, and we can invest it however we want. So my proposal is for the guys that are like those considered tier 2 employees, the people that came in after 2007, that we maximize your 401k by having a 7% match plus an additional 7%. So if you match at 7%, they give 7, and then you get another 7%,
right,
to cover healthcare cost. So that gives you 21% that's fully vested that you can invest the day you get it in your 401k.
Right.
So you don't got to be a part of BlackRock or anything. If they're already matching that, it doesn't have to be part of BlackRock anyways. It could be with whatever.
Right.
So that gives you freedom. And then on top, and then we're giving you additional money to maximize your, depending what type of healthcare plan you have,
Which ours is through the VEBA, so we'd have to have our 7% going into that VEBA.
Right. But if you're like a tier 1 employee or you got that traditional pension, I don't want to mess with your pension, especially when you're getting close to retirement.
Listen to that, because there's a lot of people that have been misled on that. I've heard a lot of people call. I've had people reach out to me and be like, "Hey, man, why you introduce? You're backing this guy that's going to cut our pensions." Listen to him. He is not going to cut your pension. He wants to maximize our investments to even be better, because one thing that we've been lacking.
While the current people are fucking with your pension all the way along.
Yes. So at least having our pension hands off.
Yeah.
And then you're also allowing us, because right now the second tiers, the one advantage they do have, they are getting match of 10%. That's big. So you're basically getting 20% towards something. The problem is their options suck.
Right.
So if you were to bring in the option of you flow where you want, and you could say, hey, what's your performance flow rate? I want to see what's your average. They have a rundown. How aggressive you want to be, how passive you want to be. What are you looking for? What is your goal? You can fine tune it.
Correct.
And they can put the key in, and you can go. But right now with BlackRock, it is such a bloodbath. I mean, I know people that basically they're waiting for 59.5 because they want to yank everything out as much as they can and start reinvesting it somewhere else. But we need to be able to free that up. I know at one point Trump had said, I want to free that up because it was like, is it like $18 trillion or something of potential movement that we would have? It would blow up our economy. It'd be awesome. But he never went forward with it, because I think when we do these contracts and stuff, it is almost like a blood ink. It really is.
Right.
So if you could break into that to where, hey, because the company's going to be more advocate, they'll be willing to listen to that, because it's not going to affect them. If they're going to match something and it goes wherever, you say it, just like you set up your direct deposit account.
Right.
You can set up, hey, this is what I want.
Right.
And then the other thing is if that company isn't performing up to what you think, and let's say the guy next to you is like, hey, dude, how'd you do the last year?
Right.
And then I'm like, well, I did 12. And he's like, well, I did 30.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
More control
so
that you
have more power to
with
be
your-
more universal. And the idea of the remote workforce, which the UAW is not as much remote as the rest of the country, so we'll be realistic about that. But bottom line is, there might be a time in your life, let's just say you do all the right investments and the right thing comes by and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start my own business and I have this to go and use this, and I can take loans off this if you go to a certain company. Not all companies let you do that.
Right.
But I get to go and take a loan and pay myself back the interest on this, and I can roll forward.
Yeah.
And I can actually start a business or a company or whatever. It starts innovation, and it allows people not to feel handcuffed to the situation they're in. And there's nothing wrong with being a laborer. Like I remember when I thought, my dad offered me a job and I thought, no, Dad, I want to be a teacher, blah, blah, blah. Well, I went and I started my assistant teaching, and this little kid spit on me, and I thought, you know what?
Fuck that little guy.
Maybe teaching isn't for me. And I remember calling my dad and kind of like, okay, Dad, But I got in there and I realized, you know what? There's no shame in being a laborer. And if you're smart with your money, there's a nice bright tunnel at the end, but we got to be smart and get in front of it, not only with the
100%.
AI that we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
but our investments. Our investments right now, I feel like it's like throwing a dart. It's like,
It is.
did I hit something?
It is.
Did I do good? And for every time the guy says, I did good on this quarter or whatever, then you fall like death the next one.
So lay that out for us, Greg. You talked about how you're being criticized for having the investments.
Right.
But you really want to empower the actual UAW union worker, to have his own determination on what he's investing in and how he's working.
Right. And then, if there is a disruption and, you're not there 30 years, you didn't lose out on that opportunity to have.
Because it's in a 401k, not a union pension.
Right. So you can take it with you.
Yeah.
The other thing then with that is, the guys that are the tier 1 employees, if you will, that will be on VEBA and stuff like you.
It'd be me.
I want to fight for COLA.
And aren't the pensions the most exploited? Union dues are one thing, but the union pensions are, what I've heard multiple times, are the most exploited dynamic. Is that not right?
As
The
far as
pensions where BlackRock or these other.
No, that's different.
Yeah.
So what we did in 2007, they broke it down where the company said, you know what, I don't want to do your pensions and your health care anymore. We're going to do the VEBA. The bad part about the VEBA, and this is why I think we need to go negotiate this.
Yeah.
They were supposed to get $8.2 billion in that settlement, and that was when we all kind of had to buy their stock, and it was like 2008. And at one point, the UAW had controlling Stock options, it was too much. They forced a sale. Mr. Obama forced them to sell
Listen,
at a low because
I don't know why you got to be
that's
critical.
that's their messiah. But he did screw us over on that one because we never got full funding for that VEBA, which now the lower tier workers, a percentage of their profit sharing has to go to the VEBA to fund it. So if we could get back to making the company fund that, not only would that be good that we got that coming back that they never funded to begin with, but we could also allow more of the people at the big three and other plants to keep more of their profit sharing that's not funding something that they were never supposed to fund to begin with.
Right. And that's what you said, Greg, talking about this. You said 7% from the worker, 7% match, and then another 7%.
Right. So if you don't want
21%, but you have control over it.
Right. But even if you don't want to contribute to 7%, and they don't match it, you're still getting 7% to go in your 401k.
Right.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Right.
So and you can fully vest it.
It's different from the pension dynamic because this is straight up a 401k. This is market driven. This is,
and if you're somebody that has the 10% match now and you went forward with that and you're getting better options, now all of a sudden, the pension, it's like, you know what? If I'm getting the right margin coming back to me, it's more realistic in the modern era of like, it really can be better. I will never say it is 100% better, and the reason why I say this, I've been a part of
system's ever perfect.
5 market share corrections since I worked at Ford, and the amount of money I lost, thank God I do have a pension because I had to actually take the Ford when it went all the way down. I think it was like $1.68 it went down to, and we thought it was going to go under. I had to pull all my money out of my Ford money market and everything because it's unsecured.
Right.
And I made a gamble and I bought a whole bunch of Ford stock, and I waited on it. And I could have lost everything. It went from, I'll just put it to you this way. I went down to the low 20s of my entire 401k at the time. That's how bad I got hit.
Okay.
And some people did better. They moved it to interest only and whatever. They diverted it. But you still lost the compounding interest of what growth was.
Okay.
So I did that and I recovered, I would say about 70% of it. But I had to sit on that and wait till it hit up. It was right around $18
before you could do anything.
Before
with
I
it.
could yank it and then hurry up and diversify it out.
Right.
Because that was when Alan Mullally was there, and I knew that as soon as he left, it was going to take another slope, which it did. But I had to make a risk for that. And what I want to say to the kids is like, what he's offering is enough to compensate for that loss. Another 7% on top of that, and you're looking at, instead of 20%, you're talking about 24%, and you're going to freedom of whatever you want to pick for your investment group.
So, Greg, break it down for those in Ann Arbor. What you're talking about is you're work for one of the big three, and you have to pay into this dynamic.
Correct.
You want to make it the most advantageous and remove it from the pension dynamic and put it into this 401k dynamic, so that whether they are there for this, less than 4 years, however long they are, and they switch jobs, they don't lose.
Right.
And it's more for the new workers. It's more for them because
isn't
people
that
like me that are vested and we have our pension, obviously we don't want to lose our pension.
Right.
But at the same point, we never had the option of a match or anything like that. However, these people over here got screwed for, there was at one point they're waiting 8 years to max out for the same job I was doing.
And you were saying that a lot of these younger people don't even want to go in because
they don't want to be
because
there.
there's no investment dynamic.
If you had
for them.
something that, well, not even that. A lot of them don't even want to invest. But the problem is they need to because we all get old. We all get old.
Yeah.
And weight gets heavier as we go. But bottom line is this is something that is an advocate for all of the workforce. But what I really like too, Greg has actually taken another step further. Our retirees, and I remember we had this talk and I really loved it. He came up with an idea of, why can't COLA grow with our retirees? Why can't we get them COLA as well? Because cost of living on a fixed income, these guys are getting absolutely eviscerated. And even a little bit goes a long way, especially if it's going along with the market and it's keeping up with inflation.
Right. Well, the other thing too is you have attrition. So as people come, there's more people dying off than that's coming on to the pension.
Right.
So it should be a cost neutral thing to give a one-time bump and then roll in COLA on top of that. COLA stands for cost of living allowance.
Yeah.
So it's determined by the federal government. So
and you want to do it Annually, not at the contract. Annually, that's a big one.
Right. And so we could, bring that in, and no one's else talking about this, but I know that they went back in John Deere's contract and got a benefit for their retirees.
Okay.
So they always say, well, you can't negotiate past contracts, but I mean, we should be able to go back and look at this stuff. And a lot of this stuff,
Right.
when it was being, negotiated back in 2007, there was a lot of corruption going on with Stellantis and all that.
They're
too.
all bought.
Right. And we know this.
Holyfield or whatever his name was, and
Right,
he
but the
ended up
point
dying
is-
or something before he really
Not
went
the
to jail.
earbiter. But
Right,
different
but
guy.
these contracts that we're being held to today were done in bad faith.
Okay.
And in my opinion, I mean, if I had full legal force, I'd be looking at these contracts and going back on them.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know, no
Yeah.
one talks about that. I don't know that. It's just an idea. I'm not going to say we can because I haven't spoken to a lawyer, right?
Okay.
But if
Or
those
through an
These
AI.
are our opinions and what we're looking
Right.
at.
It's
with
my
what-
opinion.
Through a legal AI.
right, but if these contracts are negotiated in bad faith, they should be null and void.
Right.
And
Finally, somebody's saying what people really want to hear because
Right,
they've been getting
right.
screwed by that.
right, and so that's
We don't always read the fine print, and that's why you get stabbed in the back.
Yeah,
Right.
but there was a now or never holding a cinder block attached to your neck at the end of the bleachers. That's
100%.
what we were sitting and looking at.
Right.
And a lot of people they took it.
Well, isn't that
And
what
it
unions
sold
were
us out.
formed originally to combat? Was that whole, you want to lose your job?
yeah, but
Go-
you
go
got
back
to
to
We
work.
did it to our own membership to
Yeah.
pass,
right,
though.
but you got to look at what was it in the early 2000s? I remember there was a strike, and the UAW depleted their funds.
Yep.
They had to actually take a loan from the
Yep.
Teamsters
Yeah.
to fund the strike.
Yep.
So then you have 2-3 years later, then you had the financial crisis of 2007.
Yep.
Okay.
So a lot of these decisions were based out of fear.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm willing
Panic.
to do that.
Yeah.
They were panicking because if you remember going back, I mean, the fear and the panic, it was on the news. People were losing their houses.
Yep.
So, it's one thing, to look at it from today's perspective, but at that time there was a lot of fear. But you also had a part of the corruption with the Stellantis group or the Chrysler group that was, making these concessions and stuff, but they're getting, paid
They were
on the back
getting
end.
pay to play. So I'm going to stick this in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
pocket. Wink, wink. You're going to go turn the other
Right.
way.
Right.
And the federal government, with like Obama, it is a conflict of interest for the UAW to have, stock in the companies that they're representing. I understand that, but then, but at that
You
time,
underfunded that VIBA to begin with, and that was a big hurt for
right?
us.
But like right now, though, VIBA, I was talking to a retiree.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the VIBA fax is very hard.
Yep.
But I was told it's like at 60 billion right now, and the way that they have it projected is that it's going to be for like the next 80 years. Well, how old was someone in say 2007? Probably the youngest person there, say 20. 80 years, like,
Dude, yeah.
and you're going to be another 40 years before you can claim it.
Correct.
So they have this outsourced thing that's not even feasible, and there's no plan on what happens to that money.
Like a 50-year mortgage.
There's a split board, too, between all three companies in the UAW, and there's also an oversight group. But it is very elusive in true numbers and function.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and the other thing you got to remember, our healthcare comes from that, too. So healthcare is very expensive, especially for elderly and things like that. So
Yeah.
people got to remember 80 billion might seem like a lot of money, but when it was underfunded to begin with, and you got to remember those contributions that were supposed to start at 8.2 billion,
Right.
they never got the full amount, so they weren't even rolling like they were supposed to. So what we have in there, that's great. But the problem is you're, with the crisis we're seeing right now, for instance, I'll just give an example. They're advocating for, the transgender, all these different things.
Right.
How much do you think those surgeries cost for the lifetime of that person to transition?
It's not just the surgeries; it's all the chemicals that they have to do for them.
But they're basically calling them billion-dollar babies.
Yeah.
So let's just say 20% of the workforce that's exiting decides to do these things, these radical things.
Yeah.
Or some treatment or whatever that they're endorsing.
Right.
That will be depleted extremely fast.
Right.
So we need to get in front of this again, and I think that him giving us a way out with his investment idea, and as well as, giving the COLA back to retirees in some form to make sure that they're getting, a growth instead of staying stagnant in a constant cost of living that goes up.
Yeah.
But also we're giving these kids a chance below to have something that's fully portable. And I mean, honestly, if you're getting 777, you're foolish not to like
Dude,
figure.
it's 21%
Let
of
that
what's
sucker
Dude,
grow,
that's
and I
huge.
mean, you'd be shocked in a decade what that would look like.
Right. I mean, last year my ROI on my 401k is 33%. And plus, if you're a young worker, you can go ahead and take a loan and use it as a down payment for your house and all this
Right.
other stuff
Right.
that people don't understand. So that's where it comes back to what I said earlier about educating the workforce, how to balance a checkbook, how
Just
to invest
using
your
the
money.
term you just used of ROI. Nobody knows that this is a return on investment.
Right.
The vast majority of kids, they can't
Right.
balance a checkbook. They don't know what ROI is. I want you to dive into this a little bit more. What are you hearing from the rank and file as you're out there? Your campaign is totally, I don't even say grassroots. It's your roots. You're the one
Right.
out there just pounding the pavement and doing the thing to reach people coming on small podcasts like mine. You're doing this. Dale earlier, he said when he worked at Milford, we called the UAW, "You Ain't Working." And their local reps would drive around looking for problems to write grievances. They would just look for reasons to adjust.
And to be fair, I mean,
that's-
I've seen spread grievances where there's somebody favorites being paid because
Yeah.
maybe that girl's cute, maybe whatever reason I'll get out. Well,
Right.
you can
So-
you can use your
so-
head to figure that out. But we do have reasons for grievances and things like
So
that.
with the abuse that I've seen and some of the other people have seen, and obviously you guys have seen, but what are you hearing from the good, solid people that come in every morning and do the job and do this? What are you hearing from those rank and file people? They're obviously disillusioned with the current leadership. They're disillusioned with some of the political leanings.
Correct.
They don't like, just like James, don't like the flyers in the mail telling them who they're going to vote for because they're independently thinking and they just want to know what the information is, and then they'll vote according to their conscience, according to their conscience aligned with the information that they've been given. So what are you hearing as you're out there campaigning to become the next UAW president? What are you hearing from the rank and file?
So the rank and file, I mean, it's very divisive.
Yeah.
We're very bifurcated right now on both sides. And so for me, getting back to the political center and focusing on labor issues, because there's so many. Right now, Trump came in and he underfunded the National Labor Board and like arbitrators. So right now, if I filed a grievance and it went through to get to arbitration, it's going to be 18 months to 2 years before it's heard.
Wow.
So if you lose your job,
Wow.
it could be a couple years. So these people are hurting.
And most people don't realize this. We touched on it a little bit talking about the AI and some of the other stuff. Most people don't realize when you hit the agree button on any one of these devices that you have or your vehicles or stuff like that, it literally almost to 100%. They stipulate that you can't take them to court. You have to go through
through
arbitration.
Yep.
In fact, there are people that get hurt on a Disney cruise,
Yep.
and because they signed an agreement on their Disney Plus account for the TV in their house, they negate themselves from being able to take Disney Cruise Lines
Yep.
or Disney Resorts to court
Yep.
because they signed an agreement for Disney Plus and it has a blanket coverage and they have to go through arbitration. And in arbitration, the arbiters are usually hired by the corporation
Right.
to do the arbitration.
And
It
some
doesn't
of
work
that
in
is
favor.
also because you could sue a ham sandwich. I mean, it had gotten so.
we get that. We get that.
But at the same point, you're right. They are doubling and tripling down to the point where
Yeah.
they have layers and layers, and the process
Yeah.
of the punishment.
And then-
they will bankrupt you just trying to get your job back.
And then-
They're just wrongfully terminated.
Correct. And then what you're saying, Greg, is it could be 18 months to 2 years before you actually even get to sit down with an arbitrator paid by the corporation
Well,
who's not going to
the
be your
arbitrators
advocate.
are paid 50-50. It's the union and the
Okay, in that
company.
case.
Yes.
In that case.
Right.
A lot of these other contracts with these other providers, they're like, we will select the arbitrator and we will pay for them.
Right.
Dude, it's beyond the maritime courts that we deal with.
The other thing that's really important, I think you need to discuss is you're also, the pension thing. Obviously, Fain is pretending the home run ball, the Hail Mary, and all this stuff is real. It's kind of like the Republicans right now in Michigan that think, you don't have to work with anybody, punch, the House Speaker in the nuts, and throw the Hail Mary, and we're going to win. So it's still disillusioned. It's not real. It
doesn't work.
But the problem is we got to pick one, right? We got to pick one. And to me, when he brought this up to me the other day, I kind of thought, you're right, because healthcare, you're one step away from being bankrupt or losing everything from a healthcare situation. Right now,
Even if you don't have chronic health,
right,
if you just get injured.
our second tier right now,
Yeah.
they don't get health care, okay? They got to wait till they're 65 and they can go on Medicare. That's a problem. So if you're someone that hired in at 22 years old,
And your second
you essentially
tier,
got to work
you
till
don't
you're
get anything?
43 because you can't retire. You lose
Retiree
everything.
health care.
Yeah, so you'll get no retiree health care. So this is my thing is the realistics of that. Listen, I'd love to tell you that you're going to get a unicorn and a flying pony and you're going to get $1 billion and you're going to get, your boats and hose giant thing on Black
Dude,
Lake.
he keeps dropping these boats and hose. And what's the
Yeah.
other one? What's the other
I
one at
wanna
the
hear
beginning
more
of the
about
show?
this
Oh,
afterwards.
dude, if I could tell you a story.
What's the one you've been saying at the beginning of the show?
Strip Club Heroes?
No, not strip club heroes. The phrase you kept saying, and I wanted to do. I'm like, there's a song on it. It's like, so I'm like, dude. Every time you say it, I want to do the song, and I got to refrain myself.
These young workers, they need a health care provision for what they want
Because
to
if
retire.
they don't
and
have
what-
a vested interest in their future,
Yep.
let alone the company that they're involved in,
He's got a great idea because
They're disenfranchised.
when you catalog your entire, membership together across the nation, you're
Yeah.
talking a lot of people. That is a giant advocate for getting better health care for all and basically being, hey, compete for me. We are a giant.
Right.
Right.
And I will say
and
this.
the dynamics in
the
Tennessee are not the
workers-
same as in California
the
and
UAW
Michigan.
workers do have literally Ferrari benefits. We really do. I mean, they are freaking awesome.
Right.
But here's the problem.
they're-
You're watching the big giant conglomerates of Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Blue Care Network, and HAP, and some other ones. They're starting to get some cracks in the armor. And if we don't start getting competitive and making them compete for us, we're going to start losing coverage at the most vulnerable time. And these kids, they need it now because they're not going to work 40 some odd years because they say, I can't retire. I don't
Right,
get health
and then
care."
we
That's
bring in
ridiculous.
then we bring in the illegals, and,
if
the
you're
whole system
if you're
goes
an
to
auto
shit.
worker or someone and you beat your body to death. I tore my shoulder. I got caught in a rack. All three sides I tore. I didn't think I was going to be able to work out.
Right.
And then I tore my knee and all these different things. Everything that I've had happen is your body getting beat up at that plant.
Yeah.
And I'm only coming up. I have 27 years. And you talk 40 some odd years of doing the work these guys are doing.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be there that long. 30 years was a good cusp, but now they've made it to where they can't go anywhere, or they just got to quit, walk away, and then again
and lose nothing.
Yeah,
and gain nothing.
And their TESB
Yeah.
isn't even portable.
Go
So-
address these.
So one of the first things, the top two things for most people right now, it's AI and automation, and
Okay.
then healthcare, and then retirement is like the third. So,
In importance for the line workers.
well,
Yes.
pretty much everyone.
I mean,
across the
when
board.
I say line workers, I mean the guy that's
The
actually
hourly.
doing the hourly workers.
Right.
yes.
And so, I know we are talking a lot about the big three right now, but the big three makes up about a third of the UAW.
Yep.
So,
Which is crazy because when you find out that Toyota, Honda, and even BMW have more more stateside assembly.
They do. They're actually,
Then the big-
sadly, if you look at on the sticker on the side of that vehicle, they're actually right now more American, it pisses me off. We
Well, you
are
know that
supposed
there's
to be
where-
America's
there's
gem.
where- yeah, there's warehouses in Detroit and other cities that literally will take parts, and the job of those factories are to take the parts, pull them out of that box, put them in
Yes.
another box, stamp it American made, and then ship
Yes.
it over.
Yep.
And we know it's not. Continue, Greg.
So my thinking was we need to come up with an incentive for people to want to join the UAW too.
Right.
And I know there's a big thing between right to work. I'm against right to work, but at the same time when things are being forced upon you, I can understand why conservative states and
Wasn't right to work more nurses? We've had a few people on that were talking more nursing, medical industry.
No, it was right after us.
it was right after you guys. Okay.
right. So you guys became were a right to work state, and that just went away. I think in 2024.
As
Yeah,
soon
we
as
we
soon
were
as-
right to work, and as soon as Whitmer won, we
Yeah,
went
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And here's the bad thing: we've bled a ton of jobs since then, and it gets to a point where you're losing more jobs and you're losing more members
that are losing their jobs. So,
And maybe it was because I heard it from a number of nurses that were like, listen, if I don't want to join a union, but I want to work at a hospital,
Right.
I shouldn't be forced. But okay, so it was a lot of UAWs.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going up and at the time I thought, the turd, I used to call him the nerd. I went up there and I was so mad. I remember we all went up there, were protesting. This is when I was a Democrat.
Oh my
Forgive
God.
me. I was a radical, crazy Democrat.
Dude.
I wasn't into the whole cutting wieners off like they are now. But
Did you have purple hair?
No, I did never have purple hair.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
So anyways, I was there and I remember being all upset and coming back and I thought, you know what? My union's going to really show me their value now. They're going to hit the floor with a fire and a vigor just to be like, yes, we're going to show you our value. And I
go
saw
fuck
nobody.
yourself.
Literally, I saw nobody, and I thought to myself, like, wait a minute.
I fought
This is your opportunity
this
to
shit.
advocate for yourself and show what the worth of having them.
Yeah.
And what his idea is, instead of like thumbing people, like sticking your thumb on, you better do this. He's like, hey man, why don't you make it more lucrative for people who are like, hey, I want to join a union. This is what they're getting.
Right. Yeah.
And I love his idea of competing rather than a force.
Yeah,
Right. So my idea was for the retirees, even if you're on VIBA, you still got to pay, for Medicare and supplemental health insurance. So the UAW has 580,000 retirees. So what if we took that collective buying power to start a healthcare plan?
Yeah.
You get that, say even 100,000 people on a plan, it's going to should be cheaper than what it was if you were buying it individually, right?
Yeah.
So we start the process of creating, I call it UAW Cares, a supplemental healthcare plan for retirees.
Right.
We get it solvent, and then we start bringing in, because not everyone has Rockstar health insurance. Like I do it for General Dynamics.
We have awesome. It's incredible.
Like me, I pay $1,000 a year. Everything's covered for me and my family.
Yeah, we don't pay anything.
Yeah.
Our co-pays are barely anything. It's pretty incredible.
I got buddies right now that it costs them more to go to do an appointment than it would be to like not show up.
Right. So,
Yeah.
we're very fortunate in that, but again, that's not everyone.
Yep.
Right.
So what if we go ahead and we take that and then start rolling in the contracts for all the locals? So the more people we get in,
Yep.
the lower we can drop that cost. So
Yep.
if you're a UAW member,
Yeah.
and that's a member in good standing, that means you're paying your dues. You can purchase into UAW Cares, and that's an incentive to be part of the UAW.
Part of a union
So
instead of forcing it. It's an advocacy, and I mean,
Right.
it's brilliant. I really like it.
You want to recruit people because of the benefits, not force people in because they're obligated.
And that's the bad stigma. When we have to do that,
Yeah.
and we spend all that money to try to tell them how much better they are, what happens is a lot of times, I guess it's good for the worker that's at that plant, but if I'm over here and I'm a UAW worker and I'm paying $100, for my union dues, and then you turn around and over here, I'm making $6 less than you, my health care isn't quite as good, and then you come over and start trying to like really advocate for them to become this
Hammer
union.
on you.
What happens
Yeah.
a lot of times, that company will be like, hey, what can we do to make this go
Right.
away?
Right.
And then they can pay a little bit and make them go away and be like, well, you're not paying your $100 of your union dues. That's going to be about 12, $10,000 a year or whatever you're going to pay total.
Yeah.
You're good, And then you turn around and you don't have to worry about it. And then the people are going to come to you and say, hey, I like what you guys are offering. And the bigger the pool you get, the less the healthcare is going to cost as well.
Right.
And you have more room to talk about things like pensions again.
Right.
And
to bring your retiree health care and that stuff, to get that down as cheap as possible. And then, you're boosting up like the traditional pensioners with COLA to bring their cost of living up. But then, the new workforce, it's flexible, it's mobile. You can, move jobs within the UAW. You still have a good retirement, and you're going to have a great option for retiree health care without breaking the bank. So, it's trying to use what we can do right now, because I don't know what the future is going to be, right? But then, I've heard upwards of $120 million UAW spent trying to, organize like Volkswagen and stuff down in Tennessee. Yeah.
I just saw that VW just secured a big plant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if we went down there and be like, listen, you're going to get the best healthcare in the world, $500 a month covers you and your family, You know, when you're paying, you know, $500 and you got $12,000 deductible,
Right.
that's going to be huge. And so when you are paying those 2 hours each month, well, that's going to, you know, offset that, and it's going to put more money in your pocket, right? And you don't have that fear because we're coming together and actually using true solidarity to help everyone, and then to bring it out. I mean,
Yeah.
And if we don't grow, I mean, I hope people are realizing by now the amount of loss we've had in our membership in the last few decades. I mean, in a handful of years, the UAW is going to be pretty much the tumbleweed out in the middle of the desert.
Right.
I mean, we really need to get advocacy for people to want to join, not one of those like we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try to get something when we could have just had them looking at what we have and say, you know what, I like that. And, you know, we could show when we bring more people in what it shrinks down your healthcare cost,
Right.
and it grows other things, and we can even move it over to, like I said, potentially you could get to an access point to where you're like, hey, we can do pensions, we can
Right.
do this, and we can even, you know, you get to change your investment groups and all those things that you were talking about.
and on top of that, you know, we spend a lot of time fighting right to work, and we're spending a lot of political money on that too. But if you neutralize the argument on right to work, it's a moot point, and we don't got to deal with that anymore. So a lot of times, you know, we always have to have a boogeyman to fight. That's why you need to vote for me type thing. I mean, that's what Fain does. He just uses fear and intimidation to
Right.
frighten people to fight for him or vote for him. But if you neutralize the boogeyman, then he's got nothing to talk about. That's why
Right.
all he talks about is the billionaires and blames them for everything, but there's no substance in what he says.
I gotta fix some because apparently I said 10,000 on union dues. My apologies, it's not 10,000.
Who's
It is
monitoring?
somewhere
Who's
in a
monitoring
ballpark
you over
of,
there?
of 1,200 to 2,400 a year.
Well,
but either way, you're paying for something to where it's a force instead of an advocacy.
Right. But the average right now, that union, the average across the board, it's $577 a year. It's
Yeah.
2.5 hours of your wages per month.
Okay.
So, I mean, the more you make, the more you pay, right?
Right.
But, you know, there's a lot of guys, like right now there's a strike in Findlay, Ohio,
Yep.
where these guys are just on strike for $1 an hour raise.
Yep.
Right.
And they won't do it.
So you're running, Greg, you're running for UAW president.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
nationally.
then you've got to deal with the locals throughout
All
the
of them.
whole
Yep.
country.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tried to look it up quick. It doesn't want to give me this.
I got one for
the
you. So
Average
the
pickup,
average-
the average pickup
Yep.
truck, Ford pickup truck, is about $65,000.
So when I hired in '99, the average F-150 with 107, 111,000 hourly employees was about $24,000.
Yeah.
Okay, we're now down to less than half of that, and our trucks are costing $65,000.
So how much of that is, in your guys' opinion, how much of that is the bureaucracy, the corporate structure, and the added costs for infrastructure versus it's not comes down.
There's
It
some
doesn't come-
costs for infrastructure, but just keep
but
in
does
mind
it
every
come down
time
to
they
worker?
retool, they're
Yeah.
getting billions in tax credits from, like, for instance, the largest subsidy ever given to the
Yeah.
auto workers or automotive companies was Biden. He gave $10 billion to Ford, for example, and they made the Lightning plant, and they built this massive plant,
Which
and nobody wanted the
you,
Lightning.
I've talked to you and I've talked to other Ford guys that are like, that's such a debacle.
It was
That this-
terrible because-
the Lightning, they touted it to have a 350-mile range or something like that. So the minute you hook on a trailer, it
Yeah,
drops
it's
to
nothing.
90
It's nothing.
miles. It's something
And
ridiculous.
I mean, now they're leasing them for like $217.
I
So
know-
people
I
are
know-
doing it, and I get it.
I know our
217,
local
yeah.
dealership had to put in $1 million charging station for them, and they couldn't move the
No,
the
they
vehicles.
sit there on the lot
They're
and nobody
ridiculous.
wants-
And when
them.
they first launched them, you couldn't even get the charging cable
No.
for it.
No.
Like the fast charging cable. So you had to charge it off of a 110-watt thing. Like
It
you
takes
couldn't
forever.
charge-
I mean, yeah,
It's
you might as well
ridiculous.
take a pencil sharpener and do this.
Right.
So, I mean,
so this is one of the dynamics, and then we'll move forward to get to some final thoughts. But I want to pick your guys' brains because one of the things that I've looked at with unions for years, and sometimes getting the anecdotal negative, a lot of times getting the anecdotal negative viewpoint or seeing the negative from people.
Well, the highlights
But-
of the bad is very highlighted.
it always is.
Unfortunately.
But I
there's
look-
there is good there. There is.
Correct. So I'm looking at this is I look at the dynamic between the union itself. You're running for UAW president. versus how do we have cooperation, and cohesion with the literal companies? Because if the companies end up ultimately going away, as we talked about with Toyota and Honda and BMW being more American made,
Right.
or I would say American assembled, than the big three.
No,
here,
the big three are more American assembled because they're assembled here. They're actually more American made. They're
more
actually
American made. Okay, so
product
correcting
altogether.
more American parts.
Right, and it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be that
excuse.
way. Right. So this dynamic of as you're looking at this, you're working on the pensions, you're working on transferring those more to 401ks, you're working on getting
Healthcare.
more better health care for them.
Correct.
You're working on a lot of these dynamics
COLA for
of
retirees.
yeah, these huge
And
dynamics
everybody.
of this. Then what's your dynamic of continuing to work with the manufacturers? Because again, you cited, I gave you what my guesstimation, this is a base model, 65, that's stripped down. That's, if you want to buy a loaded
you're looking at a house
F-150,
payment for a truck
loaded
now.
F-150, you're looking at $100,000. If you're going to get a Raptor, you're $120,000. If these are dynamics that we're looking at versus 20 years ago, you could have bought that truck for a quarter, if not 10 to 15% of the price.
Well-
And so it's like, how do you work with the corporations? Are they still enough?
I think if we don't go in there, like I'm telling you right now, they deserved a little punch in the nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Right.
To be fair, they needed a little Sean Fain show.
mean,
okay, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But what happened during that, and the rubbing your face in the mud and eat the rich, and because you're wealthy, you're evil, you're inherently evil, those things right there, that's a stigma that is not going to go away. And he's building on this socialistic ideology that is just,
It doesn't
it's
work.
delusional.
You can't
And
kill
at
the
end of
industry.
At the end of the day, it's a redistribution of wealth campaign.
Yeah.
That in the end of the day, eventually, even tariffs, if tariffs are there,
Right.
even these other things, let's just say whatever hurdle they got to go through, eventually it's going to get to the point where, you know what, this cost over here is to the point where I'd rather eat the tariffs. And we're getting to the point where, remember, one administration is doing these tariffs to bring jobs back. The other one wins, like they're talking midterms, as you know, a lot of times. I mean, when we had the Supreme Court thing, but a lot of times one party's exiting. And what are we going to get? If those tariffs go away, are they going to just say, gone? And we need to make sure that, yes, we need to somehow be somewhat cohesive with them, but at the same point, it should be about the membership and the membership growth.
Yeah, so
Go, Greg.
look at New York City right now, what's happening with the Eat
100%.
Rich
Oh,
campaign.
Mondami?
Yeah, Mondani. So see how that's playing out with them. So Sean Fain had his use for about 8 months. And then it was done. Like he lost his way and whatnot.
He got caught up in his own show.
Right.
Well,
And
day
you look
one,
at that guy-
day one when he was elected, he came out and said shit that was totally opposite of what he campaigned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Price
that's
controls
true.
and all sorts of stuff, and we're going to raise rates across the board, but we're going to give you free stuff.
Yeah.
I want to change what a union has traditionally been. So, it started off great, and then over the past 50 years since the Walter Reuther generation passed and moved on, we've gotten so far away from that. So we need to get back to the center. We need to make the union so we're proactive to work with these companies that are bringing manufacturing back. They already have a trained workforce for them. So when that company, that manufacturer opens their new factory, we already have a workforce there. We need to be trained.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about DEI and all this other stuff, we need to be training the workforce to how do you manage AI? How do you program this machine?
Right.
We need to be investing in apprenticeships. We need to be working in trade schools with young people, teaching them these things and forming those relationships. So when they come out, they're like, oh, I want to be a UAW member. And it means this, this, and this.
And it's a trade that's a travel trade. I mean,
no
once
matter-
you get that, you can go anywhere with it.
Right.
100%, because no matter what you do, the union can be as strong as it is.
and
If you
instead
don't
of
have
having-
a company that's willing to hire that union group of skilled workers,
Right.
Instead of
You're
having
gonna
these training centers that have become a problem, because we both know they're not training centers,
Right.
it'd be nice for your
Indoctrination
actual
centers.
plant to be an accredited system at plant site.
You
So
can
part
have
of
you
your
can have
training
shadowing.
is
You
at
could have all
site.
sorts of other dynamics where
Right.
guys are coming in there and shadowing a
But we
current
need it
line
to be
worker.
accredited on site. That's what we
100%.
need
Yeah.
within these
Get rid
plants.
of these extra
And we can do
extemporaneous
that.
places.
Yeah, and so that's something that we can do.
Okay.
You know, right now, you know, yeah, I was talking earlier about like millennials. Everyone had to go to college. Well, you go to college, and now we're the most over-educated generation, and like
And
you're
dumb.
working
That
at
can't tie their shoe.
right, and you're working at Starbucks. So what's happening?
Yep.
Well, I'm
Yep.
not having a family. I'm still living at home.
Yep.
Right.
You know, so and we basically have given these people, my generation, we basically made them indentured servants because they have floating interest rates of up to 13%. So if you go to college, say on
Oh, yeah.
$100,000, $150,000 at 13%,
Yep.
you're never going to pay that off.
No.
So you've already
Yep.
alienated a whole generation. And so right now, only two-thirds of America don't find any value in higher ed. And you know, that's where all the money's going, and it needs to go to skilled trades
Yes.
and like programmers for these machines and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the future workforce. And so that's why we need to be working now to re-educate, redeploy, and put in some strong provisions. I actually believe that over the next contracts for every local, they will be on strike. And so we need to be cutting costs as much as possible, building up the strike fund.
Yep.
I'm throwing out an idea right now.
Oh, I love this idea. Yeah.
So at the start of your contract, you have the option. I don't know the exact number. I'm just throwing this out here. But
Okay.
you opt in to pay more over the life of your contract. But on the next contract, if they go on strike, you get more benefits. So say you give an extra hour a month for your entire contract. Well, instead of getting $500, you get $1,000.
Okay.
So it's insurance. It's like Aflac.
It's basically like
an
Aflac
incentive.
to protect you in case
Right.
you go on strike and you want to live long and prosper. Sometimes you got to be out there around the cold barrel burning firewood.
Right.
And I mean, hey,
Right.
when you really get to it, and I love the fact that, and again, I'll throw him a bone on this. Him making sure that it's in the warmer season now instead of the cold season was a brilliant move by him. It
Right.
really was. But again, we need to be focused and actually collectively going in a direction, not trying to tear apart the company as the boogeyman.
Right.
Right.
And at the same time, I want to empower workers with choices so they can make the best decision that's for them. So, like in that sense, you know, if we get a bunch of people that's getting $1,000 a week, right? Well, that means they're going to hold the line longer against these companies.
100%.
And because there's contracts coming up all the time,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
get people paying in,
Yep.
so we can build up that strike fund. You know,
Yep.
we're investing it, so we're getting
Yep.
the stock market increases.
Yep.
So now we can hold the line and fight for what we need to. We have to fight and strike
Yep.
for those AI provisions I talked about. That way we have enough time to build out the infrastructure to retrain and redeploy these people. And we're going to have to fight to have job placement in every UAW contract. So any UAW member that's qualified, that applies, they get preferential treatment. And so we're going to transform the UAW into something that people want to be, you're not forced to be a part of. And we're actually going to get back to solidarity and make it about bettering each other.
Right.
And that's where he lost
Right.
our way. And getting rid of the tiers and all this other stuff, because it just creates divisiveness amongst all of us. You know, and getting back and explaining, when you do this, this is how it hurts us. So we need you to step up and do your responsibility so we can get this.
Right.
You know,
And you know, a better trained workforce is a valuable workforce. I mean, some of the best laborers to this day in the world are in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Illinois. These are your bellwether states that are
100%.
absolutely like cream of the crop. That, like, everybody knows, man, they can swing steel, they can sling it, they can do it. These guys work hard. There really are some. It's just we're getting drugged down by a bunch of people that just they want to go for the bare minimum to live in their mommy and daddy's basement. And to be fair, this is what they are taught in their high school. Like, you're somehow a victim and you're screwed anyway, so just live with your mommy and daddy forever, and it's all the boomers' fault.
Right. Well,
you know?
Dale's pointing out put skilled trades back in the schools.
Yes,
He's exactly right.
100%.
Yeah, and I look at this from this dynamic. We don't train our kids. We don't equip them to be in there, and then we throw them in the workforce and we expect them to rise. You were raised with that. You were raised with that of you know. I was raised with you don't work, you don't eat. You were raised with.
I mean, I
you know,
had a
work,
day
clean,
we woke up.
dirty work is
Yep.
clean money.
Yep,
That
dirty hands,
dynam-
clean money.
dirty
And my
hands.
dad, I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I was in 8th grade. He woke up. He says, "Son, hey, come here."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "You're not going to school today. You got to help me." And I'm like, What are
Well,
we
we
gonna
had a
do?
lot of
We
these-
went down in the basement.
Yeah.
And the old pipe burst.
Yep.
So we ended up
to
replumbing
fix
the
it.
entire basement.
Yeah.
And at that time it was PVC.
I grew
so we
up-
did PVC.
Right.
But I learned all that stuff from my dad doing
I
that.
grew up
and
in the-
now, like, there's people that are like, I mean, they'll try to YouTube it, and there's some people
Dude,
that they make
can
some
get
sense
it,
of it.
yeah.
But man, there's
I
a
grew
lot of
up in
people
the-
out there who have no idea.
I grew up in the Thumb area, dude. I grew up on a 120-acre farm, okay? I'm out there, Grandpa's out there literally welding shit back together,
Yep.
okay? My stepdad was a welder.
Yep.
You fixed it right there.
Yep.
Because productivity, the livestock depends on you bringing in the
Yep.
crops. The barn operates. You know, it's like
Yep.
you go to work. You know, I remember my grandpa Gibbs telling me, he's like, his brother, they were digging a basement out for one of the other brothers, and they come out and the tractor they're doing the skid scoop.
Yep.
On the back of the tractor, comes out, tractor flips over. It was one of the the two with basically a like a quad.
Yeah.
You know, not the quad, the three wheeler.
Oh, the
right?
dual front wheel, the narrow.
Yeah. And it flipped over on him, crushed him.
Oh man, yeah, that happened a lot back then.
And we didn't have cell phones back then. You did it like this, right? And so they're like, they couldn't get it off him. There's nothing to do. There was a load of milk that had to be delivered,
Yep.
and they're like, "We love you." You know, they kiss their brother, and they get the milk truck going.
Yep.
And they go. People don't get these dynamics nowadays, and we've got people that have become so soft. We don't have these skilled trades anymore in the schools. We're not.
Well, we've
teaching
lost our talent. I mean, it's really scary. Like when we lose a person that's got, 30, 40 years with the company and they walk away. And
Or
a lot
are
of times
pushed
there's
out.
A lot. Yeah, that's happening a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the replacements, and I'm not blaming the replacements because their training's only as good as their training is.
Correct.
There's people that want the job. There's people that don't want the job. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the training they're getting is lackluster, and we're losing talent that's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
I mean, we even have buildings right now in different cities around this country. They don't even know how to build like that anymore. We have lost that.
Right. Well, the other thing too is, like, this isn't true like at my plant, but like with Ford and the big three, instead of having like a dedicated like millwright or carpenter and these things, now they're making these skilled trades multi.
Oh yeah, they're
use.
doing it right now. We have one particular trade, very good friend of mine, very good guy, super knowledgeable. I can't say what trade it is, but
Right.
they just slammed them together, and now we're facing a problem where these people were not prepared. They don't know what they're doing, and to be fair to them, that wasn't their trade. They're getting thrown on it.
Yeah.
And again, this is we're building things to try to make things, and if you can't run, it's not a good situation.
I'm so blessed that both of my sons, they both said school, fuck this, right? And they both got their GEDs and dropped out and whatever. Both of them worked. I got them into I knew a guy that I skated with, and I got him into a plant. They worked for, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years, both of them, right? I walk into that plant because I knew my buddy and I could walk in at any time, and they were milling. They were running. This is not CNC'd.
Yeah.
They did have CNC machines, but they were literally milling the parts, and these were parts for automotive, right? They're going to manufacture a die, a tool and die machine that's going to go to. I know one of them wasn't straight automotive. It was you get the pocket doors,
Yep.
right? So the pocket door track,
Yep.
it has to be formed, and then it has to be punched every 8 inches for a screw. So it's got that keyhole
Yep.
looking thing. So they had to manufacture the machine that could do 100,000 to 500,000 of those forms and punches
Yep.
on that. They're running the machine, right? They had another guy that was working there that would do the roll-offs and the computer controls. But my sons were there. Al, who's now head over at his shop, right? He was welding the frame together for this whole thing and making it. And Vince was over there running the die. So he's got it. And I'm like, dude, those are skills you guys can never forsake and never replace, because that's hands-on skills that you can do, and you'll be able to fix almost anything that's fixable, obviously, in this economy. But those are skills, and these kids don't have that. As you said earlier, just a little while ago, they're clueless. They're like, I don't even know. I did for years. I replaced phone screens. You could buy them offline, and I would iPads. For a while, I would buy broken iPods off eBay.
Right.
I would buy the screens off eBay. I put the screens together. I would use them for a month, test them out, make sure they were working right. I'd hand it to my wife, and she would sell them on Amazon as refurbished, because that's exactly what they were. They were refurbished and tested because I played with them. All right. I still use one at the house that I never could fix the battery in it. So I leave it in the little housing thing plugged in. It plays scripture 24/7. Right now I've got it on Romans through Jude. Okay. It plays scripture for me. So I go to sleep to that. These skilled trades are going to become more and more of a premium before the economy maybe collapses and people, but
Well, they want that UBI bad. They want modern day slavery by government dependency. They want that really bad.
It's like, I'm gonna do a garden for the first time since we moved to this property. I had a huge garden at our last property. I'm gonna do a garden. Kids don't have these skills today.
No.
They should be taught this in school. They're not just balancing their checkbook and doing their budget, but skilled trades, as Dale's pointing out. We don't have these skilled trades anymore, and so kids are ill-equipped. They think that doing a shoot-'em-up game and video games is those
or
same
being an influencer.
those same skills can save your life if you apply them to survival.
I know, he's buzzing around.
Dude, he's a fucking douche. But I look at this, and Greg, what I'm hearing from you overall, and just meeting you tonight, is you want to restore that dynamic of having self-worth and self-reliance even in that corporate union environment of saying, can you reach down and grab, kids don't even know what bootstraps are, reach down and grab your bootstraps. The kids don't even have a clue about bootstraps, dude. They put straps on boots because the boots were tight without laces, and you needed to be able to pull the
them in
boots
'cause
up
it
and
just
get them on
go
so
around
that
your
that
foot.
boot was tight on your feet, so you didn't have any slippage. And they don't even understand pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They don't even understand these dynamics. But I don't think the generation's lost. I think our society, not us here at the table, but our society has not equipped them for the task at hand.
Right.
And we've got AI coming to the forefront, not emerging, but coming to the forefront. We've got 100 years or 90 years of unionizing to try to help the worker, then that morphed into abusing the worker and exploiting the corporations, and now we're going to try to bring that back into balance and go, how do we honor the worker with their 401ks and being better at pension management and healthcare and retirees and all this, but at the same time embracing the worldwide economy of manufacturing. We've got multiple things coming out of South Korea and Japan.
And I mean, at the same point with all that, we also have to find the balance, because I think a lot of people, I mean, we've all watched SpongeBob once in our life, right? And when Patrick will
His pants are square.
Yeah, Patrick will look at SpongeBob and be like, oh, really? He's just like, oh. So a lot of these workers are in awe with all these offerings by Fane, but literally he's offering a fantasy.
Right.
This is not, I'm telling you, it's
not
gonna
realistic.
Go the way they think it's
not
gonna
realistic
go.
or
It's not
sustainable.
realistic.
Well,
go, Greg.
Look, he's pushing I'm going to get retirement health care for you. And I mentioned this earlier, but if you don't have a job, you're not going to get it, right?
Right.
So even if you do bargain it, and on top of that, I believe that if, say the companies would do it, the shareholders would sue because the CEOs are failing in their fiduciary duty because they're going to take on an unknown cost for how long?
Yep.
So even if it would get passed, I don't think it would pass a lawsuit. And see, because we got rid of that in 2007, I don't think we're ever going to get it back. And I can tell you why, because of the court case in 1919 and Ford versus the Dodge brothers.
Yep.
That's codified in the law. Now, if we can change the law so that companies need to take into account all stakeholders, maybe we can go back to that. But until
it doesn't
that's
stop them from, your valid point is, it doesn't stop them from saying, sure, you guys can have a pension. You're fired.
You're right.
Because all they got to go off indefinitely, and you're going to exhaust your sub weeks, and then you'll do your
they got the strategy.
Bring the gen pool back, so you got that time.
Yeah.
But after you exhaust all that,
You're done.
You're done.
They got rooms full of
And-
people doing strategies now, AI, doing the
Yes.
strategies on how to undermine that dynamic. I want to touch on this, and then I want to get you guys' final thoughts to wrap up the show tonight. We didn't even have this concept. We fought a revolutionary war in this country to establish the sovereignty of the individual. It was not even a concept or a dynamic that was even at the forefront of any government or entity. And our forefathers saw it, and they said, you know what? We want to honor the king, but the king's not honoring us, and we ultimately are the sovereigns because we recognize who God created us to be. And then you fast forward. Not only did we not have for the average person, as it says in the Constitution, we the people are created equal, or by our created equal by our Creator, right? That's equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome.
There we go.
That's a difference there. So
difference.
they were looking at this dynamic of going, we have equality of opportunity, and we believe that we're all the sovereigns because we read scripture and it says that we're all kings and priests. And so they instilled this thing. The idea of even sitting here talking about retirement, I know the statistic, but I'm not recalling it off the top of my head, but the amount of people that die on Monday mornings after retiring from a corporation is very high.
It used to be a year or less they would collect.
Yeah,
It used to
because
be. I don't know what it is now, but it used to be
a year or less. Okay. So because they didn't have a purpose anymore, and what you're injecting and what you're talking about is we have to have a higher purpose, and really this idea of a retirement plan is 50, 60, maybe stretching it to 70 years. When they started unions, they were not thinking about a retirement plan. They were thinking about not getting killed on the job and wrapped up in a belt that wasn't safely
losing an
protected.
arm or-
Exactly. And so you have this dynamic. It's very fresh in the biblical 6,000 year timeline of human history. The idea of retirement, we've shortchanged the idea of lifelong purpose. And we want to serve in a company for a time, get a retirement, and go. And I want people to think about that's where skill sets, that's where
You have to make yourself valuable. When you make
exactly.
yourself in a
Then when you
evolving
when you
economy
retire
and the
from
way
a company,
things are going
you
right
don't
now,
find invaluability.
Yeah, this is not the 80s and the 70s and the 60s.
Yeah.
We are on the verge of something that I don't think people really realize what we're up against, and I think that they're going to get caught with their pants down if the current leadership stays in place.
Right.
And I think we're in big trouble, and I think that a lot of these companies, and this isn't one of those, oh, let's be scared of them. No, I'm just telling you, like the realistics of it.
Yeah.
They're definitely ready for what happened last time. They're more than prepared, and if we are not presenting something that is a good going forward momentum,
A viable option.
Yeah, a viable option for
Yeah.
us and to make us. I mean, here's the other thing: you want to make yourself more valuable.
100%.
And I'm not saying we don't have value, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is you want to make yourself to the point where
You're
they're
valuable to
dependent on you
yourself,
because-
and then you offer.
Yeah, there's a skilled trade.
Yeah.
There's also skilled laborers. So the more of these people that we can have,
Yeah.
and this is going to be
And make your skills
I'll be
transferable.
gone by the time this all really hits to fruition.
Yeah.
But if we get in front of it, like he's talking about, and these guys that are young, this might change a lot because the guy that's over there doing a job that he just like, I hate this, blah blah. He's only 4 years in. What if he learns a trade and it's a specific like programming trade, or it's an AI data collecting thing, or something within the system to maybe save quality? You're saying, hey, when we put this in the system, we're not rejecting this back, so the company we have to make this call, and then we got to put this email in or whatever. And you can say, no, man, we can just have this QR code, we scan it, and then it just says, this is the part we rejected. You already got a 1-for-1 for it. It's coming over here. We already put it here. You
Yeah.
have a picture of it. Here's the defect. And all these different things that we can do.
Right.
These are things that we can get in front of, and we can be more inept to be a labor force that is like, hey, man, like we need these guys.
100%.
Because right now, I mean, technically, you could probably go grab a whole bunch of illegal aliens. They'd probably run garbage, but they'd be running. That's all they care.
Yeah. Productivity
So
for productivity's sake is never a
We
benefit.
have a definitely a paradigm of this, the AI coming. We also have infiltration of like ridiculous, basically undercutting wage labor force that's here.
Yeah.
And it's not a good situation.
You're chomping at the bit, Greg. I
Yeah.
want to
So
get this. So the historical dynamic of
Right. Well, over in China right now, they have full factories running, making cars, all automated. Like the lights are dark.
Yeah, they're dark.
They only turn on when someone has to come in and fix something.
fix a machine.
So I mean, Ford CEO Farley has been talking about this for a while. He's like, if this comes to America, we are done.
Yep.
Because we can't compete.
Yep.
And so, we got to have this on the mindset. We need a population that has purpose.
Yeah.
That can make a dignified, living, and support their family. And we also need to give them an opportunity for retirement, not just be beat up and used.
That's right.
Because if we don't do that, as a society, America's not going to exist.
You're right.
We're going to end up in Russia 2.0.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we get this right. And instead of spilling fear, I truly believe that the best days of the UAW are ahead of us and not behind us.
Okay.
If we come together. So we always keep looking backwards and keep talking about the past, but we need to make our own
We want to
destiny.
learn
and
from
our
those
future.
mistakes, but not repeat them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so instead of just being in fear and just pushing it down and blaming someone, I think we should say, can we be responsible for? Like UAW cares.
Yep.
Let's do that. That's the first thing we can do to help retirees in a 2-year period, I believe.
Okay.
By 2028, hopefully, when that
Cycle comes around. Yeah.
we should be able to have a plan. I mean, businesses do this all the time, right?
Right. They have to
shouldn't
plan
be
for the
hard.
future.
You contact people. You say,
Yeah.
this is what I got. You bid it out. Whoever's the lowest cost, that's who you go with. I
Right.
mean, it's
With the best benefits.
with the best benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do. You make them compete for us instead of us begging for scraps.
And I'm not going to sugarcoat that either. Like I said before, we have extremely good benefits. But if we pocket that all together, there's no reason we can't even make it more competitive and even better.
Right. And the other thing, too, is, again, like the big three, that's only a third of the UAW. So we're talking, that's 150,000 people. There's 392,000 people in the UAW and 580,000 retirees. So this could be something that impacts, potentially 800,000 people.
Right.
So this is huge. And so no one else is talking about that because we always want to beg. We want the government to do it, or we want the companies to do it. And it's time that we just take ownership of this stuff. And do
Or
what's
we
best
keep
for our
talking about
members.
it's no longer the millionaires and billionaires, because you notice the socialists have now become millionaires. So now it's the billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, look
I'm waiting for
course.
it to be like, it's the trillionaires. I'm a billionaire now, so it's the trillionaires. I mean,
Right.
we really got to get out of this losing mindset of, the boogeyman is anyone that is of wealth and things. Is there bad people in every group? There is. But this idea that we sit there and point at the very guy that could say, you know what?
I've seen
I'm kinda
pastors
done
of,
with
of
this.
50 people exploit their congregation.
yeah.
I've seen people of
Yeah.
20,000 exploit their
Right.
congregation.
And so the other thing, too, is, Sean Fain, he's sitting there saying billionaires have no right to exist.
Right.
So,
What?
I mean,
He
Yeah.
said that?
Oh, yeah, he said that.
and so
Dumbass.
right now, do you know Hassan Piker?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So Hassan Piker and Politico and March.
You got to explain it for Ann Arbor.
Yeah. So Hassan Piker, he is this far left.
You should pull up one of your things.
Hassan Piker. Keep talking. I'll pull
So
it
he's
up.
this far left Twitch streamer that is talking about politics and stuff. He said that 9/11, America deserved it. He's had actual terrorists on his stream and supporting it. He's called for violence against people. All of this stuff. He makes
This douchebag right here?
Yes. He makes AOC look like a Republican. I mean, that's how far out he is.
Wow.
And so he, in Politico this year, endorsed Sean Fain as a sleeper hit to run for president in 2028. Now, Piker is also friends with Mondani.
Oh, he's friends with the Young Turks? Fuck
Yes.
this guy.
His uncle is the old guy on Young Turks. So this guy, went to Cuba, not recently. He's like, oh, people love communism. Not too long ago, he had...
In Cuba, you can pay a chick with
Go ahead and put that
a
up.
prostitute. You
Send
can
it
pay
to
a
you.
prostitute in dewormer
right.
to have sex with you.
Yeah, and so some of the other stuff is now Hassan, Fain, and Mondani. They're like friends, and they're hanging out. So
Of course. Birds of a
Fain
feather
endorses
flock
Mondani.
together.
Mondani and Piker's friends. Piker is then endorsing Sean Fain. This is where they're at. This is who Sean Fain hangs out.
Is that... Wait, which
But as
one's
long as
Sean
they
Fain?
call themselves democratic socialists, it's
right?
okay.
But they're communists, and
They
they're-
100% are.
And they just changed their name, but they have no business being the UAW. It's
No.
part of our
It
Constitution
is. It's
and
in the bylaws.
federal,
They are not supposed to be allowed.
and it's federal law.
Yes.
Part of when the National Labor Board was founded, that you cannot be a communist
Yep.
and be part of a union.
Oh, really?
Right. So now they call themselves Democrat Socialists, and
Yep.
now it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
the word salad. Just change
It's a word
the name.
salad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these three guys.
Advocates government-run groceries, free rent. That was Manzami.
Yeah.
Piker says extreme anti-capitalist and class rhetoric. Praised anti-capitalist and what the hell does that say? Rent control, whatever.
Yeah.
Praise shade. So it's one vicious cycle with these guys.
Yeah, it never stops. So, and they're just going through, Fane, you're literally dealing with people that are worth billions of dollars to create
Yeah.
jobs, and you're saying you have no right to exist. Why would I want to do business with you if you're literally threatening my life, especially with the political violence that's going on in this country?
Yeah.
Right.
So, again, we got to get back to the center. It's going to take the Republicans and Democrats to get our agenda across the finish line. It's not going to be one
Right.
side or the other. And so when our union leadership refuses to talk to Republicans, we're
dumb.
hurting ourselves.
Yep. Yeah.
We just got to find common ground with the Republicans, build a relationship with them, be able to explain to our position, like I tell you, Trump, hey, I know why you're doing this, but
Right.
in reality, you're actually hurting these people
Right.
that did nothing wrong, and
Yeah.
they're out on the streets. They can't get unemployment. They got to find another job. They
Get on
lost
the
their
ground
house.
level and figure out what the fuck's going on.
Right. We just want minimum staffing levels for this. So many arbitrators for so many union workers.
Yeah.
It's not a political thing. It's just facts. Let's get this codified into law so no matter who's president,
Yeah.
the worker doesn't get screwed. I think that's an easy sell that you can get across the finish
100%.
line. But instead, we go, my UAW president right now wears a shirt that says, Trump is a scab, vote Harris. How is
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But so how
After-
is Sean Fain ever going to help talk to the Republicans to get anything across the finish line to benefit us when that's the shirt he wears?
Yep.
We have to
Trump had the best reputation with the unions throughout New York when he was building
He did.
buildings.
Now, he's gone on the record and said stuff, and I mean, I'm not defending Trump, but you also got to look at, you had the mob involved
Yep.
with the unions and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you're looking at the 70s, right? You've got to look
Yeah.
at, like, the Sopranos.
You couldn't avoid the mob in the 70s
Right,
and 80s. So
right.
through
So-
New York, New Jersey.
So they're taking the experience he had dealing with the mob and the unions in the 70s and 80s in New York City, not
Yeah.
nationwide, and then saying, well, he's anti-union. So, I mean, I'm not trying to justify whatever and what people believe, but when you look at a situation, you got to look at the context of what it is.
Yeah.
That way you can know how to attack it and be able to have a civil
Well, and
conversation.
like you said, coming together. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, again, he's the first president in my lifetime to ever stick his thumb on the scale in a contract to basically save a whole bunch of UAW jobs.
Right.
So, again, take the wins when you can get them. Don't
100%.
throw rocks at the guy. There's going to be
100%.
things like, I agree, like the administrator for the labor and all that stuff where people get terminated and they basically put like amount of red tape. It's Mount Impossible.
Right.
So I understand that's something we won't like, but there's a lot of things we do like, but we need to somehow find that gap. And what we're doing is we're just going further and further out. And the left has gotten so crazy. I mean, Hassan Piker, you should not even associate with that guy. And
Dude,
I mean,
their
these
rhetoric
guys are
is off the charts.
yeah,
Right.
you guys are the red fist and the hammer and the sickle. I mean, they're straight up communists right now.
Straight up.
It is insane.
And
Yeah.
so, like Sean Fain, he's endorsing Mondani.
Yep.
And Mondani wants to tax white neighborhoods because
Yep.
they generally have more money. How many of the 40,000 people in New York City are doctors, lawyers, they
Yep.
work in education that would be part of that group are going to be affected?
100%.
And how many billions? I mean, here's the other thing. If you don't want to listen to it that way, how many billions in dollars of companies have left New York because of his stuff? So what I want to
There's
say
a
is,
huge exodus out of New York.
let's now
Yeah.
stats get it to us.
Yeah.
At a certain point, when the UAW comes in there trying to kick a hornet's nest like they did last time, and they basically ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars, eventually the company says, you know what? I'm just going to go to one of these other states like Tennessee or something like that, and I'm going to just open up a plant. I'm not going to put any UAW representative
100%.
employees in there.
Or-
I don't want to see that. And like he
Right.
said, we need to make it to where they want to advocate to work together. We want to make sure that like we are beyond valuable in
Right.
the training we get and going forward, but also we're not going in there and basically, I mean, you're calling them monsters
Right.
simply because you think that their pay they shouldn't get. So somebody that worked for their money, I don't care what you think of the Ford family or the next family or whatever, you
Yeah.
think that they should not have their money and you should just be getting their money because you exist. That's a terrible way to negotiate. You're never going to go anywhere.
Right.
And so the other thing too is we need to expand the UAW, and we need to go.
We need growth.
Right, but when you take the message of Hassan Piker and Mondani down to Alabama, Tennessee, you want to go to Florida and try to organize. How is that message, when that's on your front page,
Yep.
Right.
going to resonate with those people down there? It's
not.
That's why it's
not gonna
important
resonate. Yeah.
that we stay in the middle and focus on labor issues.
Yep.
Well,
Not
isn't
on
it
political.
Isn't it the states that were the states that were not like Detroit or Michigan with Detroit and everything like that? The states that were non-industrial were the ones that Toyota, Honda, and some of
Yep.
these other companies came into because they were like, we
Alabama,
don't want to deal with
Tennessee. Yep.
exactly, we don't want to deal with this bureaucracy and all the bullshit between all of it. We're going to come into these places that don't have
Yep.
this huge industrial infrastructure, and we're going to establish. And they did.
And you know the
and,
crazy
and
part
that
is-
should tell us something. It's like
Michigan is a very key location for imports and exports and all the. It's an awesome
Huge.
situation.
Huge.
And
With the Great
what
Lakes, with
people
all
don't
that.
think about
Yeah.
it. It's like, oh, well, you're selling out or whatever. If you get Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Ford, GM, Chrysler, all of them. Let's just say they all were up in Michigan.
Right.
You're going to get to a point where there's competition, even just for employees
With them.
And anytime you draw that kind of
competition with
competition, what does it do to your wages?
It makes them rise.
well, it's
Look at that,
competition with
naturally.
Yeah.
not only that, competition with suppliers alone.
Yes.
We can do that one better than this
Yeah.
other company. Okay, great. Show us your product. We'll sit down with you. They always do that, right? They sit down and entertain suppliers. They may have a backside deal or whatever, but
Yep.
you're exactly right. James, give me your final thoughts before I go to Greg.
All right.
Give me a signature there, buddy. Ooh, you're good. He's doing the highlight green. I didn't even go to the overhead on your signature. My bad.
It's different every time anyway.
It is.
So,
it is. But give me your
I
final
happen to
thoughts, my
run
friend.
across Greg by chance. It's funny because he
Did
talks
you
about-
meet him tonight?
Yeah.
First
He
time-
walked.
First
He
time
walked
we've actually
in.
met.
He walked in
We
and he
talked.
was. Yeah, he walked in and he was like, when he said, "Nice to meet both of you," and I was like, "Wait a minute,
Yep.
you didn't know you?"
No.
So you booked him for the show,
So-
and yet it was just great. This is great
I happened
conversation.
to. I had something on, because I've been frustrated. I've been watching the circus.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about this guy.
Okay.
So it's funny that he said he was sitting in a church pew and God was like, "Hey, dude."
That's
to
an
run,
that's
right?
that's an impactful
So-
statement. It's
so
honorable and honest and
I
impactful.
saw this guy, and I happened to Facebook stalk you a little bit. I was creeping on you, man. But I thought, you know what? This guy looks pretty good.
Looks
and
genuine.
I reached out and I said, can we talk?
Yeah.
And he probably at first was like, oh man, like who's this guy?
I'm like, I'll talk to anyone.
So-
I don't care.
Okay.
I
all right.
talked to him, and we talked for quite a while the first time.
Right.
Right.
And first of all, he's a man of God.
Yeah.
He's a man of a family.
Right.
He's a hardworking man, and he's got a plan. And out of all the people I've talked to in organized unions and workers and things like that, probably one of the more intelligent people I've ever talked to
Okay.
as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And that's pretty sad considering 27 years in 8 plants, and this guy's been with UAW for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
4 years, yeah.
it's sad, but at the same point, I look at it as hopeful. I
Right.
don't think it's by accident.
Sometimes it
that
takes
his-
fresh eyes to
yeah.
come into.
I don't think it's by accident that happened and somehow I went and found him.
Right.
And yeah, I definitely want to get his message out. I think that is actually, it's realistic.
Okay.
It's not fairies in the sky. It's
Right.
not, it's going to be a fight no matter what. Let's make that clear. Like, they're not going to say, let's open my checkbook. It's going to be a fight no matter what. But what we have right now with essentially punching the company in the nuts and insulting them because somehow your wealth makes you a monster or demonic or whatever you want to put in that box.
Yeah.
We've now got this stigma that somehow, again, it's not the millionaires anymore because we're all kind of approaching that. So it's the billionaires, and then eventually it's going to be trillion. And what people aren't realizing is inflation. Okay, so more money
Right.
chasing less goods. What does it do for everybody? It makes everything cost more.
Exactly.
So, and again, I'm not saying that we don't deserve more. We do. We can all agree on that. There's a lot of great workers. But we need to have a strategic plan to go after it. It should not be a blind kicking hornet's nest in there. It
Yeah.
should not be Marxist mentality that is basically me, myself, and I. I'm going to strip mine it. We all saw what happened with BLM, buying large mansions. Bottom line is these
In
people,
white neighborhoods.
yeah, they use people.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, it's been thrown out. Hassan Piker and others have kind of made it out like, this guy wants to run for president of the United States one day. I mean, a full-on socialist Marxist who basically is already trying to pad up his way to
Who's
do
going
that.
to be his VP, Bernie?
Oh my gosh, he probably would.
AOC.
Yeah.
AOC.
But I look at someone that is cut of the same cloth as I was.
Yeah.
He's worked hard to get where he's at. He knows what he's talking about. As far as AI, man, you're way leap bounds before I could even understand it.
Which is where
I
you
mean,
need to be.
I can type
now,
it in
right?
and try to generate an image or something.
Right.
But I don't, the fact that, and I've had long talks about that, you've educated me on a lot of that, but we need someone that is not part of the good old boy club.
Yeah.
We've been sold out so many stinking times.
Dude.
I could go contract by
Promise
contract.
after promise.
I could go to the plant I was at when it closed. I could go to the plant when I booted out because, sorry, we're cutting this production. It's going down to Mexico. It's going over here. And the worst part about it is, people won't talk about this either, these UAW plants literally put plants against plants like a Quiznos subs.
Dude.
And it's like drop a knife between them like that scene in The Joker, and it's like tryouts.
Tryouts,
And you're cutting each other's throat.
Right.
That is not a way to succeed.
Right.
And we're getting so small that our membership eventually will be inconsequential. So it's like, I don't really care about them. I mean, if we cut them all, it's like, who cares?
Right.
So we need to bring them all into the fold. We need to grow it.
Yeah.
And we need to make ourselves so valuable and so well trained that people are like, hey, man, we got to go to Michigan. Hey, we got to go to Ohio.
You got to
Hey,
make
we
it a
gotta go to
draw.
these places.
Right now, it's
They have-
they're
right.
leaving
They're
in droves.
leaving. They're leaving.
Yeah.
So
we got to make it a draw.
I really look forward to what he's got in store for going forward. I really like his plan.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt that the number one for me is you're a man of God,
I appreciate
and
that.
that means a lot to me
That's
because
huge.
I get tired of just the people that you can tell their motivations aren't good.
Right.
Right.
And I can tell just all the conversations we've had online, texting, calling. I mean, dude, you're a stand-up guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I really, I'm thankful that you're running because really the options were a Marxist,
Right.
a wild, crazy man, and then more of the good old boy club.
Yep.
So finally,
Yeah.
someone that is not any of those things.
100%.
And finally, we can get away from and maybe, stop this inner circle of corruption.
Right. Maybe short circuit the thing. Pick a good color up here, Greg.
Just
Oh, yeah.
sign down there.
Sign
Just wherever you want. Wherever you want, buddy. See that stack over there?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
stack, that is all the shows that I've done.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't do episode counts. I do a stack. So give me your final thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I didn't go to
so
your head, but go
going
ahead.
off about what he said, I've actually been doing a call for prayer and fasting every Monday.
Wow.
Leading up to the election of the UAW.
Okay.
The final results. So I'm not saying
The Marxists don't like that, by the way.
Yeah, I know
see
that. So
They
but
like
no,
a call to prayer, but they
They
don't like
hate
a
it.
call
They're
to
like, "Why are you
they-
doing a
They
fast?
don't
Why
like
are you
they don't
you
like
know?"
they like a call to prayer, not a call to prayer and fasting, because that's Christian.
Yeah.
Right. So I did a call to prayer and fasting every Monday.
Okay.
And just for discernment and wisdom.
So what does that look like for the audience out there? A call to prayer and fasting. Do you mean fasting the whole day, 24 hours?
Well, it's whatever. I mean, I give up coffee. Okay.
okay.
I'm
That's
not.
why I like the explanation.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, I'm going without food or drink. I mean, it could be giving up TV. It could be giving up,
But something so that you focus on something
sacrifice.
beyond yourself.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just asking people to fast and pray on Mondays.
Okay.
That God's discernment would be within the body of the UAW to make the best decision for
That's
the
beautiful.
UAW.
Yeah.
And to seek God's will. That's it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, hey, I want God to vote for me.
So you're looking for you're looking for a simple sacrifice and a dynamic to where people step outside themselves and
Yep.
focus on something bigger, and that puts energy in the atmosphere. It also calls upon God to move on our behalf.
Correct.
That's beautiful. Continue.
And so the other thing, I'm paying for my campaign myself. I've heard upwards, Sean Fain's going to have $800,000.
Right.
I'm competing with like 2,000. So what I need people to do is go to mooneyforpresident.com, sign up for my newsletter. It's right on the homepage.
I'm pulling that up as you're talking right there.
If you go to my social media, go to my page.
Yeah. So this
Like
is Mooney,
it.
MooneyForPresident.com. There it is. You can sign up right there. Innovative, and this lays out what you're looking at. There's more to it, right?
Correct. And then
The vision, the flyers, all that stuff. All right, continue, and I'm going to
so
go to your Facebook.
you know, if people like what I'm saying, I created some flyers. You can download them, you can print them, you can do whatever you want. Share them with your local. And on top of that, my social media. I mean, the past month I've been blowing up. I've had.
Well, you're an IT guy, an AI guy, so you should have a handle on this social media stuff.
So, you know, it's been blown up. I've been reached, 35,000 people and 250,000 views this past month alone with no money spent. And so I need people to go on my Facebook, follow, and share everything that I post.
Okay.
Nationwide, like it, comment, because that just affects the
Oh,
algorithm.
you posted the podcast on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
that
dude.
yesterday. So I had it all ready to go.
Nice.
So that's what I really need people to do. If you like what I'm saying, just share my message.
Yeah.
Tell your local family.
There it is,
with the
guys.
UAW.
That's Facebook. There's our podcast that we're doing right now. There's what's this? The future for the UAW starts now. Modernization with an AI app and UAWR.
No, it's lawyer. So
Oh,
it's a play
L,
on words.
L,
So
it's
it's
an
a AI labor lawyer.
Oh, okay.
So the
okay.
AI that I created,
Yeah.
the foundation, I call it lawyer.
Yeah.
It's a play on words.
I'm hitting the thumbs up on that, buddy.
You're
Yeah.
shooting
There you go.
above
Look at that.
people's-
Look at
people's
right
pay
there.
grade there.
You got those two pinned, but there's the podcast right there in real time.
Right, and if you
I
go
love
to
it.
the top, I have it actually pinned. I created a cartoon strip that broke down over 1,000 pages of legal documents
Okay.
and broke it out over like 7 things.
Did you pin it? Did you pin it to the top?
It's the top of my page. Click on my actual page. I don't.
That was what I searched.
Right there.
Oh, campaign. That's
Yeah,
the one.
go to my
okay.
campaign. There you go.
Oh, there's
so
the
right
cartoon,
there, you
okay.
can see my. I put a cartoon strip of what's going on at the UAW. So these are
Yeah.
all proven facts.
Nice.
You can read it in less than 60 seconds.
Are you
to
doing
get a
these in
gist.
AI? You doing some AI comic strips?
This is all
Nice.
AI. Part of my gist
It's
is
funny because a lot of the people are pushing back on Greg, think he's got like this this giant campaign, and it's literally a one-man
He's
show. I mean,
literally-
this guy is.
right.
Because he's got some AI going on.
Right, and part of the reason why I'm using AI is
Yeah.
to show that I know how to use it. A lot of people's like, you shouldn't do that. You're taking someone's job. I'm like, I'm a multimedia specialist for a top 50 country in the world.
Yeah.
Or top
Should I
country
click on some of
or
these?
company.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Fear factor at Solidarity.
yeah.
Let's see the next one. Dude, these are great.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I put this together.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, they're not going to want to read all the stuff.
But
in
it's on
this-
your if it's on your Facebook, they can find you by just simply typing in. I typed in literally Mooney 4, and it automatically the president came up.
Right.
So type in Mooney 4 president, but I didn't even have to fill it in.
Right.
Before it came up, and then click on the link once you get to it.
Yeah, and so I just kind of broke it all down.
Yeah.
So
cover up.
yeah, and
Make
so
up
in
the
a
charges.
minute you can get the gist, and if you want to see
Yeah.
more, if you look at where I actually have the notes on the right hand side,
Okay.
it breaks it all down where it was found at in the court documents.
Okay, so you're getting we want
Everything's
all the
cited, so
information
this
there.
isn't made up. This isn't conjecture.
This is an allegation. This is fact.
Yeah,
It's facts.
right. And so
Beautiful.
so
that's huge. That's pinned to the top of your page.
Yep.
Explain this one to me. If you're mad about this, you're not, but not about this, you're a hypocrite. So this is
That's just that
Florida,
redistricting.
Louisiana, Alabama, is that West Virginia, Tennessee, and Texas.
It's basically one of those in the middle again because if you remember right,
Yeah.
the map he's showing you is one way.
How the
They're
whole
finally
eastern
getting it.
seaboard is all
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically meeting in the
Yeah.
middle of understanding. Hey,
Membership is
you
not.
don't like that.
Membership safety is non-negotiable. Yeah. No. This is great stuff. This is where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue with your final thought, my friend.
So yeah, again, I think our best days are ahead of us, and we need to start coming together and getting back to the center and focusing on actual labor issues. And we just keep fighting the victories of the past, just so we can, have a purpose. And we need to redirect our purpose to create a
Our
better future
purpose
for our
isn't
family.
just cheering for Kamala Harris just blindly and just allegiance.
Yeah,
She's got a D next to her name, man.
I think, well, and this is another topic for another day, but
Right.
changing the way politics are done within the UAW. So We have actually the membership decide who's being endorsed, where that money's going.
And we should kind of stay out of it.
Yeah, right.
It shouldn't
You know, take the wins when they're there. If there's something that's going to benefit the membership,
This
but
shouldn't-
stay out of it.
This shouldn't be the United Auto Workers having a top-down dictate to
Yes.
the workers.
Yes.
It should be a ground up of the leadership saying, what are you guys hearing? What are you seeing? What's on your mind?
Listen to
Who
the
should we
membership.
endorse versus dictating to them?
Yep.
Last year, when the LM2s came out, 99.38% of all federal contributions to politicians went to Democrats.
How many? What's the percentage?
99.38%.
Dude, that's fucking ridiculous.
And if you remember right, the 1988 and the 1992 case, that is not supposed to be the case with people's union dues. It is
Well,
not
that's
supposed to be
VCAP,
a-
so that's voluntary.
Right.
So,
But that's
I'm
not
talking about
reflective
a
of the
portion of our
country
union
at
dues
all.
do go
right,
to that.
but then they spend another 7.7 million of our union
there you
dues
go. That's the one I'm talking about.
on political activities. So this is paying for
And
labor
we need to stop that.
for people to go out campaigning, but we posted a $4 million loss.
Yeah.
And if we didn't take from our slush fund, or strike
Which is
fund,
what they renamed it so they could use it for whatever the heck they want.
Strike fund versus
we actually lost $69 million
Yep.
last
And
year.
we didn't reinvest properly. We
69
missed our
million.
window, so we
Right.
lost even more than
So
that.
we
Wow.
sold off investments at a loss to cover
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You only can do that so long.
Yeah.
Well, and again, compounding, yeah.
Give me that one. I hit my overhead here. Appreciate you so much, Greg, for coming on with
Well,
us tonight.
I appreciate
sharing with
this
us. This is not
opportunity.
the only conversation we need to have. Because we could dive into these subjects so deep. But I appreciate your approach. I appreciate the dynamic you're coming at it, because you actually are the embodiment of what the original union dynamic was we're not trying to undercut the company, but we want the best for the workers.
Right.
Want our fair share in a way of not socialistic ideologies.
Correct.
Earning your wage.
Correct.
And being treated as such.
And that's a huge dynamic. So I love this. I love what I'm hearing from you. I appreciate you so much coming on the show. I think back to a couple things. One was Lincoln. Lincoln said during the Revolution, or during the Civil War, he said, you know, America will never be conquered from within, because 75% of the people own their own business, and the other 25% are working for them
Yep.
towards owning their own business.
Yep.
We have a complete corporate structure now,
Yep.
you know, 150 years later, from that Civil War, and we are being conquered with China infiltrating in league with our politicians, with other nefarious groups
Yep.
partnering with them to undermine us, because we don't own our own individual businesses, and therefore we're reliant upon these corporate structures to be able to figure out our life path and our ultimate retirement. Because what is retirement? Retirement is not stop doing stuff. Those guys die on
They
Monday
die.
morning, right? But the guys that go, I really wanted to do this. And so I had to build up my wealth and build up my infrastructure
And
to
I
the
worked
point
for
that
it.
I could do it. And the guys that have something going on after they quote unquote retire are the guys that survive. You know, I think that some of a lot of our service industry should be populated by high schoolers and retirees. You know, because they're the ones that they don't need to work 40 hours. They need to work 15, 20 hours at the most, and be a greeter at Walmart, you know, or a greeter at Myers. Or they need to, you know, I like it when I see the elderly, not because I think that they're being demeaned or disparaged or disenfranchised, but I like it when I have an elderly person as a greeter, because I know they're out there not because they necessarily have to. There are cases where they have to have it, but a lot of times they're like, I just want something to do to keep me active. You know,
Right.
you're working in this infrastructure that you didn't choose and you would have never created, but you're trying to find the best solution within that infrastructure.
Correct.
And find out what's beneficial to all of these UAW workers so that they're fulfilled and successful in their chosen path. And I think that's commendable. That's huge. I love the dynamic of you, you know, being in church, sitting there, and the Lord says, I want you to go. I want you to run, and you're like, okay, Lord, I don't. You probably didn't go through the dynamics of Isaiah and going, I'm a man of unclean lips and I can't do this, and he brings the hot coal from the altar and touches your lips. But either way, you said, Lord, here am I, send me.
Send me.
And,
Yeah,
and so you're stepping up to do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, literally, I was at church service and I started my campaign an hour later.
Yeah, and that's huge, and it's totally abused again, but you're totally grassroots, meaning you're doing it yourself.
Yep.
And that is, to me, is commendable. I hope that everybody out there gets a chance to pay attention not only to tonight's podcast but your campaign, and at least takes a look at what your platform is and what you're doing and the dynamics that you're trying to bring to the table, because we want to inject ideas no matter the outcome.
Right.
But I believe that you have the makings of one of the most successful campaigns, because you're appealing to the rank and file, the line workers, the guys that are out there doing
The actual union,
Exactly.
not the mouthpieces that forgot their mouthpieces.
Correct. Well, and it's been undermined to where they've been told, here's what you're going to vote for.
Yep.
You want to empower them as workers, but also as a political dynamic, to not be homogenous, but to have a voice. Right. We don't want you to be a sheeple that just go along with everything. We want you to be a group of people that can voice it. James, we've had multiple shows where we've talked about it, where you're not really allowed to do that stuff. You're not really.
And I'm so grateful for the guys, the men and women I work with, because they have my back. They support me. If any shenanigans go on from international down, they stop it immediately.
Yeah.
And so I know that some of these other locals, there's a lot of drama and stuff, but my local, I get to see what the UAW is actually supposed to be. I have great leaders. My president, Doug Goebel, incredible.
Yeah.
And he holds people accountable. Sometimes when people's
That's huge.
Right. And so when people's like, pulling shenanigans with their labor, he's like, hey, I'm not going to file a grievance on this if they're not paying you. Like,
Right.
you can't miss a third of the year and expect a paycheck.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just making this up, but there's other stuff I don't want to.
No, exactly.
But I mean, he holds people accountable, but he also has your back. And I have I've had people come at me at work, the plant manager, the admin for the plant, just tell him lies. I mean, he had my back, and
they feel threatened.
Right. And so now, I love the UAW. I mean, I'm all for it. I want to see the UAW succeed. That's why I'm running. I'm spending my money, my time, my treasure. I could be doing a whole lot of other stuff right now. But I think it's that important because of my experience in the UAW. And everyone should have the same experience I do.
Well, not only that, you came in, you've been 4 years in, but you also had all this wealth of other experience of working these different occupations, doing skilled labor jobs, having injuries, doing all this stuff. You understand, whether you understand being like James, being a line worker or administration or quality control, whatever it is, you understand what it means to be the physical labor
Correct.
on a job. And you understand.
And that's important, because a lot of people, some of those leaders up there never touch the floor. Okay, a lot of them, they cannot resonate with those people that are slinging steel every day. And even worse are the ones that they spend a little bit of time, but now they've been away from it for so long.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't even realize what's going on that floor. And then they come down for, once in a blue moon, like this election coming up, and they're wanting to shake people's hands. And it's like,
dude, you've never been down here.
You don't have a clue.
Exactly.
What's
And
going
so,
on down
I
here.
mean, when you look, you've been in the union for 20, 30 years, okay, but you guys have all been corrupt.
Yep.
Like for the past 15 years, every president's been horrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're running us in the ground, where I did in skilled trade labor, right? I've thrown, when I built pools, you had a 8-foot sheet of steel that's 16 gauge steel that's 42 inches tall.
Yep.
Like I put it together myself. I own a business. I went through what it means to be injured on the job for a long time. I had 13 procedures.
Right.
I owned a business, started my own thing. I worked in, nonprofits. I worked in education, teaching, plus I worked in higher ed.
Yeah.
And now I'm in manufacturing. So I've experienced almost the full gamut of what the UAW encompasses, where everyone else is just in their silo. And I
Or,
think I'm,
or they got their Wayne State degree.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Never
again,
attended.
that's the dynamic of really the garden where the Lord said, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But they had to tend to every tree. That's what people miss. They had to cultivate that tree to make it fruitful, but they weren't supposed to eat from it. Why? Because when you take knowledge and go to school, but you don't experience life, you shortchange yourself of the nuances of what it means to actually physically deal with those situations. So if I just read it out of a book, it's Goodwill Hunting.
Right.
He's like, look, man, yeah, you can tell me all about the Sistine Chapel, but you know the smell. In fact, it just popped up on the board as I said it. It popped up after I said it. Behind
'cause
me.
the AI is
yeah,
listening to you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's that dynamic. He's like, you can't tell me what it smells like, what the tiles feel like when you're walking through there. You can tell me all about the paintings and all about all that stuff, but you can't tell me what it feels like to go in there and touch it.
right.
And that's the dynamics. When you have that life experience and then you go, okay, I'm not one of your typical guys that are going to come in here. I understand it. I may not have the longevity in this particular industry, but I have longevity. I started my own company. You know what that takes. I've had the injuries. I've had the work ethic to
Right.
be in there. That is what people want to see. I did it with construction for years, okay? Running my own construction company for most of my life, from my mid-20s on, okay, for better part of, we'll say 30 years, off and on. I did do church ministry for about 8 years, but I was always still doing construction on the sides.
right.
But either way, I would have guys that would come on my job site, and I'm the boss, and I hire them, and they would go, well, what have you done today? Getting a little uppity, and I go, well, I trained that guy, and I trained that guy, and I trained that guy, and I trained you. And I'm doing all of the paperwork, and I'm making sure that the paychecks are going to be paid on Friday. So what have I done today? And it got to the point one time when I was building condos, where I trained all my guys. And I would have a 10, 15-minute meeting at the beginning of the day, and I'd say, this is what we want to accomplish, and here's it is. And then the rest of the day, I would haul the 2x4s. And I would sweep the floor. And I would come over and check on them. And when it was hot out, I would come over and grab their hat off their head and pour some water in it and put their hat back on their head, and it would cool them off, And in the wintertime, I'd make sure, are you warm enough, But I had done the physical labor myself so that when I was the boss, I understood it and knew that guy's getting overheated. I'm gonna grab a bottle of water and come over and give it to him. And that's the dynamic that we're talking about. So you're coming in this and not having this, years and years and years that you're talking about some of these previous presidents that never have an understanding of what it means.
They're never on the floor.
Right. And you want to have that experience, and that's a huge dynamics. Greg, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for
You got a
having me.
long drive tonight, as well as James has got to be up at 4 a.m, so we won't keep you any longer. Thank you guys for being in chat. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all of that stuff over there. I know you're going to grab some of this links. We'll have a ton of views tomorrow. But let's promote this because I want your message to get out there. This was a good conversation. We dove into some of the details, but this is good to have a humanizing conversation. To
Right.
go, you're a real dude that has experienced life, and you're not running because you have this huge ego. You're not running because you want people to worship you or any of this other bullshit. You're running because you were in church one day and the Lord said, I want you to run. And then you said, okay. And within an hour you launched it. And then you're like, all right, Lord, what am I doing?
Right.
You want to empower the workers as well as be a fundamental cog in the wheel of the industry so that the industry prospers, but not at the expense of the workers.
Right.
That both sides benefit. So it's been an honor having you on the show. Appreciate it. James, as always, buddy.
right, man.
I love you. With that, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Do all of that stuff. We will catch you guys on Tuesday because it's Mother's Day. Spend time with your mom. Honor your moms. I think we're having a big party. And I think we're having I got to do stir fry. That's what the official word is. I'm going to be down here on the big stove cooking stir fry. So with that, guys, we'll catch you next time.
Vote for Greg Mooney.
Vote for Greg Mooney. All of you UAW workers, you're awesome. Thank you.
But
This is my brain.
Dad, that's an egg.
Yeah, that's an egg.
Honey,
Dude.
that's an egg.
Seriously.
That's an egg.
It's a metaphor.
It's still an egg.
That's an egg.
I would challenge you.
That's an egg.
I know my brain is not actually an egg, okay? It's a metaphor.
Metaphor or not, that's not your brain.
It's just an egg.
Una cerveza para mí. My egg is my brain.
Can I at least have some bacon, maybe some sausage with that egg, though?
Oh, I want some bacon.
I want crepes.
Have some bacon and pancakes with that egg.
I'll take it with cheese.
Extra large, brown, cage-free eggs.
Can I have your brain with hot cakes?
A little sausage and a little toast and potato.
That would be great.
Does it have antibiotics?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at this shit.
Well, they gotta be able to resist some diseases.
You resist the disease.
Has it got any hormones?
Maybe. It's cage free.
Vegetarian?
Maybe.
Are they vegan?
No, I eat steak.
Never apologize and never explain.
Never apologize.
Never apologize and never explain.